Chapter 2193. Shin Qianhua wanted to say something. Yu Chan reminded, "It's best not to reveal this matter for now, in case it causes trouble for husband." Shin Qianhua smiled as she replied, "Chan I naturally understand this. Don't worry, I won't cause trouble for that fellow." Hearing this, Yu Chan did not say anything else. Shin Qianhua looked at Mialu and smiled as she said, "I want to know my man's identity. As long as you become his woman, you will naturally know his identity. Don't worry, he's definitely worthy of you." Mialu felt angry and said, "I already said that I can't become his woman. I don't have any feelings for him, and I even hate him." Shin Qianhua laughed, "Actually, no matter what, no matter if you like or hate me, as long as my man is interested in you, you will still become his woman in the end. I'll go back and tell him about this." Mialu said angrily, "Is that so? I'll go and see if he has the ability." Shin Qianhua smiled as she said, "You'll know when the time comes." Everyone looked somewhat disappointed because it was obvious that they could not casually reveal Zhao Fu's identity. From their tone, they could tell that Zhao Fu was someone with an extremely terrifying identity. This made everyone's hearts itch. They were clearly very curious and wanted to know his identity, but they were unwilling to say it. Mialu thought of what Luli had said to her before and said coldly, "That fellow has a holy bloodline, so he should be from the half-immortal world. Even if you don't want to say it, I can guess his identity." Tian Yu understood. Everyone knew that there were two powerful holy sons in the secret realm. He had already seen one before, which was the Tree King in front of him. His strength was indeed terrifying, but the other holy son's identity was extremely mysterious. So it was the person who had been continuously obtaining the Master God's power. It was understandable for such a person to continuously obtain Master God's power, as people with divine blood were all very terrifying. Hao Dao's expression did not change at all. He was not interested in holy sons, so he did not care about the two holy sons' information. Hearing Mialu's words, Shin Qianhua laughed and said, "You can keep guessing. No matter how hard you try, you won't be able to guess. Also, I've already said that as long as you become my man's woman, I'll tell you everything." Mialu replied somewhat angrily, "I also said that it's impossible for me to become his woman. Also, don't think that he's so great just because he has a divine bloodline. I just defeated a holy son." This made the Tree King, who was standing at the side, look a little embarrassed. He was the holy son who had been defeated by Mialu. Saying that in front of him was not giving him any face at all. Shin Qianhua said with a disdainful smile, "How can a holy son like him compare to my man?" When the Tree King heard this, he was really angry. After all, he was a legendary holy son, a holy son that countless people could not touch. Although his status was not comparable to Hao Dao's, he was far more terrifying than the Thearcha's son. However, this woman was actually looking down on him. "I want to see who that man is and if he's as terrifying as you say he is. When the time comes, it'll be a joke if he's not even as good as me," the Tree King said as he looked at Shin Qianhua angrily. Shin Qianhua said confidently, "You'll know when the time comes. It's impossible for him to hide his identity, and you'll all know who he is." Mialu frowned. From Shin Qianhua's tone, Zhao Fu was far more terrifying than an ordinary holy son, which gave her a lot of pressure. Moreover, Shin Qianhua said that she would not be able to guess Zhao Fu's identity, no matter how hard she tried. Just what was Zhao Fu's identity? At that moment Yu Chan said, "All right, don't make husband wait for too long. Let's not let my husband wait for too long. Let's go back." Shin Qianhua smiled as she looked at Mialu and nodded, and the women left together. After the women left, the remaining people also left after saying a few words. Mialu brought Luli to a place to recover her strength. She had used up a lot of energy in this battle, and needed a lot of time to recover. Tian Yu left by himself and continued to increase his strength. Right now, he felt even more pressure, and he did not have much confidence in this competition of the gods. The Tree King left with Hao Dao. With Hao Dao's terrifying identity, the Tree King felt that he should establish a friendly relationship with him, so he tried to curry favor with Hao Dao. In another place, Zhao Fu had already come out of the inheritance grounds. After absorbing the powerful Ghost Master God's power, the 10,000 gods' power had become even more powerful. Now there were only 4 Master Gods' power left, and as long as he fused them, the 10,000 gods' power would become a type of supreme power. Right now, Zhao Fu felt that he could not wait to know just how powerful the supreme power of the 10,000 god was. By now, the women had returned, and Zhao Fu smiled as he asked, "How did you all feel after watching the battle?" Yu Chan smiled as she replied, "It was extremely intense and terrifying, as if it could destroy the world. One of the 2 people fighting was a holy sun and the other was the Emperor's star possessor, Mialu. In the end, the one who won was Mialu." Zhao Fu felt quite startled. He had never thought that the Emperor's star possessor and the holy sun would fight so early. This was to get rid of an opponent early. There should not be too many people participating in the final competition. There were only 3 of the top 10 geniuses left, and even though he did not know how many other terrifying figures there were, he felt that there would not be too many of them. With fewer competitors, Zhao Fu could avoid many battles. Xin Qianhua went up and hugged Zhao Fu as she smiled and said, "Husband, I want to discuss something with you." This was the first time Xin Qianhua had called him like this, and Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he asked, "What is it?" Xin Qianhua smiled as she said, "I want you to subdue Mia Lu as well. Look at how beautiful she is and how she has an emperor's star. She'll be of great help to you. You already have so many women, so you won't mind having one more." Zhao Fu looked at Xin Qianhua and smiled as he said, "Why are you suddenly saying that? Don't tell me you're interested in her? Also, don't you like Yu Chan?" Xin Qianhua said flirtatiously, "Of course not, I'm just thinking about husband. Look at how beautiful Mia Lu is and how she has an emperor's star. Husband, are you really not tempted? Don't you want to possess her? I can serve husband with her." Yu Chan rolled her eyes at Xin Qianhua and said, "Husband, don't listen to her. She has an emperor's star and is on a completely different level from us. If you touch her, it will cause great trouble." Zhao Fu thought about it and smiled as he said, "I understand. Let's hurry up and find the core god's legacy land and put this matter aside for now. I want to fuse with all of my core god's power as soon as possible." Yu Chan smiled and nodded. Xin Qianhua looked at Yu Chan with a trace of dissatisfaction. She wanted to teach her a lesson when they were intimate, and she liked how shy Yu Chan looked in her embrace. Following this, everyone left and continued to search for the core god's legacy land. Chapter 2194. A few hours later, Zhao Fu's group arrived before a large mountain. Zhao Fu could sense ripples from the entrance to the legacy land within the mountain. The location was quite well hidden, and ordinary people would not be able to detect it at all. Right now, Zhao Fu's body had fused with the ocean goddess, so he was very sensitive to entrances to the legacy land. Zhao Fu took out the Sin Dragon Sword and sent a massive wave of power into it. The Sin Dragon Sword gave off countless traces of watery light and automatically flew out of Zhao Fu's hand, turning into an enormous water dragon that smashed forwards with great power. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the water dragon smashed into the mountain, smashing open a large hole, causing the mountain to tremble and countless boulders to tumble down. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and led his group into the large hole. They advanced through the hole and arrived at a very large region. There was nothing inside, only a gray-white orb of light in the air that gave off a powerful gravitational force. As Zhao Fu's group drew near, the orb of light gave off a powerful gravitational force that weighed down on their bodies. It was as if a mountain was weighing down on them, causing the ground to sink. However, this was not too difficult for Zhao Fu's group, and they were able to easily withstand the powerful gravitational force and fly into the gray-white orb of light. Within the legacy space, there were many hills, and there was almost no other terrain. At the center, there was a tall platform, and on it was a short but well-built young man. He was dressed in armor and held a hammer, and he gave off a shocking mountain-like aura. This was most likely a hill sovereign. Zhao Fu impatiently wanted to fuse with all of the sovereign's power, so he did not waste any time and turned into a ray of light as he shot forwards. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the sovereign's statue gave off a powerful gray-white light. The ground around it violently trembled as massive hill giants climbed out, giving off shocking auras. After appearing, the hill giants gave off massive power as they charged at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression did not change at all as he gripped the Sin Dragon sword and continuously slashed out, sending out rays of sword light that sent the hill giants flying. One by one, the hill giants were sent flying. Their bodies shattered into countless rocks, and they stopped moving. After dealing with all the hill giants, Zhao Fu arrived before the hill statue. Lowering his head, the mountain master god sized up Zhao Fu with a pair of eyes. He then let out a grayish-white glow from his glabella as the power of mountains spread out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a gray-white ray of light shot out from the center of Zhao Fu's forehead, giving off a massive aura as it landed on Zhao Fu's body. A massive mountain's power entered Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu closed his eyes and continued to absorb the mountain's power. Boom, 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 one rumbling sound after another rang out non-stop as one stream of sovereign power after another entered Zhao Fu's body, while Zhao Fu continued to absorb it. Finally, after the stone statue had imparted all the power of inheritance, it slowly disappeared. Boom! A massive explosion rang out as that grayish-white ball of light burst forth with a formidable mountain's power, emitting an intense grayish-white glow. Bringing with it a formidable aura, it turned into a beam of light that shot out into the skies. Bam! A massive explosion rang out as the grayish-white ball of light exploded out, sending out a massive wave of light that spread out like a hot knife through butter. A frightening mountain's power covered the skies, causing everyone to feel a sense of pressure. There was a gigantic formation of 24 circles in the skies. One of them gave off a grayish-white glow, as though the entire circle was filled with grayish-white light. Right now, there were still 3 circles that had yet to give off any light. Everyone within the secret ground looked at the gigantic formation in the skies and felt that time was of the essence. There were still 3 Master Gods' legacy grounds that had yet to receive their power of legacy. However, given the strength of that single person, he would be able to obtain the remaining 3 Master Gods' power of legacy very quickly. The final competition of the gods was about to begin. Tian Yu and the others felt quite excited because that was when the God Master would be decided. When that time came, all of the experts would appear, and all of the mysteries would be solved. The battles would become even more intense. On the other side, Zhao Fu opened his eyes and gave a trace of a smile. After absorbing the mountain god's legacy power, his 10,000 godly power had become even more powerful. This was because the final stage of the competition was about to begin, and the battles between ordinary people were becoming more and more intense. They wanted to use this last bit of time to obtain some treasures. However, they only had one chance, and if they missed it, they would not have another chance in the future. Even if they waited for another 9 years, it would be pointless. After all, everyone could only participate in the competition once, and even peerless geniuses were no exception. At that moment, 3 people were currently fighting within a historical remnant. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Both of the men had goat horns on their heads. One was well-built but had an ugly face, while the other was tall and handsome. What's more, he was much more powerful than the other man. The ugly man was called Yang Zhang, while the handsome man was called Yang Wang. Both of them were shepherds, and even though one was ugly and the other was handsome, they were actually brothers. Yang Zhang was the older brother, and Yang Wang was the younger brother. The last woman also had a pair of goat horns on her head. She had long white hair, a beautiful face, and a graceful figure. She gave off an enchanting aura. Her name was Yang Jiao, and she was Yang Wang's wife. Currently, the three of them were killing a group of soldiers wearing silver-white armor. They also had goat horns on their heads, and they gave off powerful godly power. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a tall shepherd who looked like a general held a large saber and gave off a powerful aura as he rushed over. Yang Wang immediately said, "Leave him to me. Big brother, Jiao you two deal with the remaining soldiers." After saying this, Yang Wang held a spear and rushed at the general, and the two of them quickly started to fight. "Husband, be careful," Yang Jiao called out in concern before flirtatiously looking at Yang Zhang. This caused Yang Zhang's heart to tremble, and a look of excitement appeared on his face. The surrounding soldiers charged over, but they quickly hid their expressions and continued to kill them. Soon, they had killed all of the soldiers. The battle between Yang Wang and the Shepherd General reached a critical moment, and the Shepherd General slashed out a massive saber light, sending Yang Wang flying back. Yang Zhang immediately called out, "Brother, let me help you." Following this, Yang Zhang joined in the battle, and the two of them attacked the Shepherd General together. The Shepherd General slowly started to lose ground, and Yang Wang grasped an opportunity to pierce his chest with his spear, successfully killing the Shepherd General. Yang Wang let out a sigh of relief. He had finally killed the Shepherd General. Now it was time to obtain the treasure. He had heard from his wife that there was an incredibly powerful treasure here, and if he could obtain it, it would be of great help to him. He wondered what that treasure looked like. Chapter 2195. Qi. A sharp sword suddenly pierced through his chest from his back, causing blood to fly everywhere. Yang Wang turned and looked at the person who had pierced through his chest, a look of shock on his face. That person was his big brother, Yang Zhang. He had never thought that his big brother would want to kill him, and he had never mistreated his big brother. He had collected all sorts of medicinal pills for him to raise his cultivation and had given him anything good. He had treated his big brother so well, so why would his big brother do such a thing? Yang Wang stared at his big brother in shock as a trace of blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. Yang Zhang ferociously pulled back his sword and Yang Wang's body fell to the ground, blood continuously flowing out. That attack had only heavily injured Yang Wang and had not killed him. Yang Wang did not feel angry and calmly looked at Yang Zhang as he said, "Why?" Yang Zhang savagely laughed as he said, "You're asking me why? I've wanted to kill you for a long time. Why do you have such great power, why do you look so handsome, and why do women like you so much? Why am I so ugly? Why don't I have talent like you? Why don't I have great power? Why do women hate me?" It could be said that Yang Zhang had always envied his little brother since he was young. Even though he could not blame his little brother, he hated him greatly and even wanted to kill him. If his little brother was also ugly, had no talent, and no women liked him, he would not have been jealous and would not have killed his little brother. Everything was his little brother's fault, and that was what Yang Zhang was thinking. Hearing his brother's words, Yang Wang didn't know what to say. He was powerless to change all of this. If he could, he would rather be ugly and have no aptitude than see the brother he respected and liked become so hideous and twisted, wanting to kill him. "Big brother, you've done well," Yang Jiao said as she walked over to Yang Zhang and looked at the heavily injured Yang Wang. Yang Zhang loudly laughed as he brought his little brother's wife into his embrace. Yang Zhang was incredibly infatuated with his little brother's flirtatious wife, and he really wanted to do it with her. He had peeped at her and his little brother a few times, and he knew that she was quite licentious. His little brother did not know about this, but Yang Jiao knew that he had peeped, so she had done it even more licentiously with his little brother. Yang Jiao did not resist and allowed Yang Zhang to hug her, and she even took the initiative to hug him. Yang Wang's expression became pained. He had never thought that his beloved wife would betray him and throw herself into his brother's arms. Yang Wang wasn't angry. He just looked at Yang Jiao in pain. "Why did you do this? You probably don't like my brother." Hearing this, Yang Zhang shouted angrily in his heart, "What do you mean you don't like me? Let me tell you the truth. Sister-in-law likes me just like that." As he spoke, Yang Zhang pressed Yang Jiao onto the ground and tore off her clothes. He wanted to have her in front of his little brother to prove that he had the ability to make women fall for him. At the same time, he wanted to take revenge on his little brother. Yang Jiao didn't resist and cooperated with Yang Zhang. Yang Zhang looked at the petite figure in front of him with a passionate gaze, and his heartbeat quickened. He had wanted to do this for a long time, and today, he was finally going to violate this woman that he had been infatuated with for a long time. Yang Zhang smiled and was about to pounce on Yang Jiao. Poochie! A cold light flashed as a dagger stabbed into Yang Zhang's chest, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Yang Zhang howled in pain as he retreated. He looked at Yang Jiao furiously and said, "Slut, what are you doing?" Yang Jiao wiped away the blood on her face and looked at Yang Zhang in disgust as she said, "Who's your little brother? Did you really think that I would like you? With your ugly appearance, you're not even fit to carry my shoes for me with your ordinary talent. Just looking at you makes me feel disgusted." Yang Zhang looked furious. "Slut, I'll kill you." Yang Zhang's expression was savage and filled with killing intent as he leapt at Yang Jiao. Her words caused Yang Zhang to feel incredibly furious. Yang Jiao coldly laughed and kicked Yang Zhang away, causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. He no longer had the strength to crawl up, but he still looked at Yang Jiao savagely, filled with killing intent. Lying by the side, Yang Wang suddenly understood. "You must have asked my big brother to kill me. Also, you said that there's a treasure here. Just what is your goal for bringing us here?" Yang Jiao smiled as she said, "That's right. I asked that fool to do this. As for why, you'll find out in a bit." Yang Wang understood what was going to happen and he pleaded, "You can do anything to me, but please let my big brother live." Yang Zhang's heart trembled and he looked at his little brother in confusion. He had never thought that he would beg for mercy on his little brother's behalf, even though he wanted to kill his little brother and take his woman. Yang Zhang's eyes became wet and he felt immense regret. However, Yang Jiao directly refused. "What I want is you two brothers. How could I let you off?" Yang Zhang furiously glared at Yang Jiao. "Slut, hurry up and let go of my little brother. Otherwise, even if I become a malicious spirit, I won't let you off." Yang Jiao ignored Yang Zhang and stretched out a hand, giving off a formless energy as she grabbed the two brothers and brought them to an altar. The altar was tens of meters tall and 10 meters wide, and it was a square shape. There were 2 brass pillars at the center of the altar, and there were many pictures of stars and goats engraved on them, giving off a mysterious and profound aura. Yang Jiao used chains to tie the 2 brothers to the pillars, and Yang Wang's expression was quite unsightly. He had a bad premonition, and Yang Zhang furiously cursed at Yang Jiao, wanting to eat her up. Boom! However, Yang Jiao ignored her and stretched out a hand, sending a powerful energy into the 2 copper pillars. The 2 copper pillars looked as if they were being heated by fire and gave off a scorching heat. Arg! Yang Zhang and the other man's backs were pressed against the copper pillar. The immense heat caused their backs to be cooked, giving off sizzling sounds and white smoke. The fragrance of meat wafted through the air as the 2 of them struggled in pain. The 2 of them were godly spirits, and would not die so easily. Their charred flesh continued to grow out, and the pain continued. Yang Jiao smiled as she looked at the 2 people howling in pain. Traces of blood-red aura continuously floated out of their bodies and fused into the copper pillars, causing them to give off a mysterious aura. "Kill me, hurry and kill me!" Yang Zhang was unable to endure such intense pain and started to beg Yang Jiao to kill him. Yang Wang endured the pain and begged, Yang Jiao, I'm begging you. For the sake of our past relationship, let my big brother go, I'm willing to do anything. Yang Jiao coldly laughed, You've treated me quite well, but I became your wife just for this day. If it was anything else, I might agree, but letting him go is impossible. Chapter 2196. Arg, the temperature of the copper pillars continuously rose up, and even those standing a few meters away could feel the heat. Yang Zhang and Yang Wang felt as if their bodies were being roasted, and the intense pain made them feel like they were suffocating as they howled. White smoke continuously rose up and sizzled as a meaty fragrance spread out. Following this, Yang Jiao controlled the copper pillars to create two streams of flames that flowed into the two people's bodies. Their bodies were being roasted both inside and out, causing them to howl even more bitterly. In the end, the two of them could not take it anymore and died. Their bodies were burned to dust, and a wave of power flowed into the copper pillars. Boom! Boom! Two massive explosions sounded out as the two copper pillars gave off terrifying power and intense light. They turned into two rays of light that shot into the sky, causing the sky to tremble as a formless energy spread out. Heaven and earth power continuously flowed into them, causing the sky to dim and clouds to swirl. Boom! Boom! Another two explosions sounded out as two red stars giving off massive might descended, giving off boundless red light. A shocking star power spread out, causing countless people in the surroundings to feel fear. A smile appeared on Yang Jiao's face. This was her goal. Going back to 2 years ago, she had found out about this secret from someone else and had started her plan. The two stars that appeared were called the Gemini stars, and they were extremely powerful stars. Possessing this kind of star would not only allow one to obtain extremely powerful star power, but they would also be able to revive once. For example, if she was killed and her body and soul were destroyed, she would have a chance to revive. This was because her soul had the Gemini star's abilities and could split into two souls. Normally, she could leave her other soul somewhere, and if anything happened to her main body, the other soul could bring her main body. Moreover, her various attributes would not weaken and would still be as powerful as before. This was because the Gemini star could transfer all of the main body's power after death. This was the Gemini star's most powerful ability. In order to summon the Gemini stars, one had to be blood-related brothers and have similar godheads. Only by using them as sacrifices could one summon them. 2 years ago, she had set Yang Wang and Yang Wang as her targets and had even become Yang Wang's wife in order to gain their trust. Yang Wang was much more powerful than her, and if she did not use any tricks, she would not be able to control him. As such, she had used his idiot big brother. Now, their souls were bound up in the copper pillars and were being roasted by countless flames until their souls dissipated. Of course, this was not what she cared about. Yang Jiao smiled and spread out her hands as she started to draw on the Gemini star's power. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the Gemini star gave off a powerful pillar of light that landed on Yang Jiao's body. Star energy continuously flowed into her body, and she could clearly sense that her power had become stronger and her constitution had changed. A while later, the Gemini star seemed to sense something terrifying, and they felt incredibly terrified. The power that the Gemini star's star was quickly weakened. Yang Jiao, who had closed her eyes to absorb the Gemini star's energy, opened her eyes curiously and saw a group of people in the sky. Standing at the very front was a young man wearing a cloak. Behind him were many beautiful women. Shockingly, there were even two exceptional geniuses, Xin Qianhua and Yu Chan. In as she, as if she, and she, as she, and she, of a young as, she as, and as. She as if the as she. And of Chen. What was this person's identity? What she did not know was that Zhao Fu had 6 Supreme Emperor stars. Just one Supreme Emperor star was enough to make the Gemini twins feel quite afraid, let alone Zhao Fu, who had 6 Supreme Emperor stars. The Gemini twins felt that they were going to be scared to death. To it, 6 Emperor stars were existences that it could not touch, and it did not dare to stay in the same place as them. Zhao Fu had been attracted over by the abnormal signs from before, and he looked down at Yang Jiao. She was a powerful goat god and had good looks, and he gave a trace of a smile as he asked, "What's your name?" Yang Jiao felt quite terrified. Putting aside how terrifying Zhao Fu was, even Shen Qianhua and Yu Chan were people that she could not touch. As such, she obediently replied, "I'm called Yang Jiao." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and said with a trace of might and domineeringness, "Come here." Yang Jiao did not know what Zhao Fu wanted to do, but she did not dare to resist. As such, she flew over to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu brought Yang Jiao into his embrace and kissed her. The 6 desires demonic qi continuously flowed into her body, and Yang Jiao did not resist. Instead, she felt quite delighted and passionately responded to Zhao Fu. The 2 images on the copper pillars were being roasted by the flames, and seeing Yang Jiao being toyed with by Zhao Fu, Yang Zhang was incredibly furious and continuously cursed at Zhao Fu. It was as if Zhao Fu was toying with his woman. Yang Wang looked incredibly pained. No man would be happy to see his wife being toyed with by another man. However, the flames continuously roasted them, and their bodies became more and more hazy before finally disappearing. All of their soul energy had fused into the copper pillars. By now, Zhao Fu had let go of Yang Jiao. Yang Jiao smiled as she looked at Zhao Fu in infatuation. This was the man she wanted. He was powerful and charismatic, and she felt as if she had been conquered by him and was willing to listen to his orders. In comparison, her husband, Yang Wang, was nothing. Of course, she did not truly like him and was just using him. However, she now truly wanted to be this man's woman and receive his love and be toyed with by him. Zhao Fu looked at her and smiled as he asked, "What just happened?" Now that the Gemini star had disappeared, Zhao Fu felt quite curious and felt that they were not weak at all. Yang Jiao did not hide anything and told Zhao Fu everything. Of course, she did not tell him about the Yang brothers. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and went to the altar. He found that the 2 copper pillars' power was quite special and powerful. Zhao Fu also wanted to obtain the Gemini star's power, and he felt that it was quite good. However, the altar could not be used anymore, and it could only be used once every 100 years. Moreover, it could not be taken away, so Zhao Fu could not help but feel a bit disappointed. Zhao Fu looked at Yang Jiao and smiled. This time, his target was not the copper pillars but the Yang goddess in front of him. Out of the 12 zodiac goddesses, only the rabbit goddess was left. If he could find the rabbit goddess, the matter with the 12 zodiac goddesses would come to an end. After returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu would fuse the 12 zodiac goddesses' power with them, and the 12 zodiac goddesses would be born. Chapter 2197. Everyone continued to search for the entrance to the Legacy Land, and soon, Zhao Fu sensed an entrance to the Legacy Land. He came to a grassy area, but he could not find the entrance. Zhao Fu felt quite strange. He had sensed that there was an entrance here, so why could he not see it? Suddenly, Zhao Fu heard beautiful music in the sky. This music did not sound like it was played by a musical instrument, but it was made up of all sorts of sounds from nature. There was the sound of the wind, the sound of flowing streams, the sound of birds, and so on. This was most likely the legacy land of the music god. Since he could not find the entrance, did that mean that he needed someone who could play music to find it? Zhao Fu felt quite troubled because he did not understand music very well. Zhao Fu turned to look at the women beside him and asked, "Who understands music?" This is the entrance to the legacy land of the music god, and only someone who understands music can find it. Hearing this, the women all shook their heads. Most of them had only come into contact with music, and did not understand it very well. If they wanted to find the entrance to the legacy land of the music god, they would need the music god's help. Seeing that none of them knew anything, Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed. He could only look for the sound of music, or else there would be no other way. Shi Kuei smiled as she said, "Husband, perhaps we have a way." Zhao Fu asked in delight, "What method do you have? Tell me." Shi Kuei smiled as she explained, "Don't forget that we're from time, and we can change the time in this region. I think we should use this music as a foundation to make time return to the last time the Legacy Land's entrance was opened." Zhao Fu thought about it and felt that it might work, but it would be quite difficult. As such, he smiled and nodded, "You can give it a try then. If it doesn't work, we'll go find the time god." Shi Kuei smiled and nodded before coming to the front with Shi Ning and Shi Ye. The three of them formed a triangle, and there were 10 meters between them. Shi Ning stood in the center because she represented time, while Shi Kuei stood on the left and Shi Ye stood on the right. Boom! 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 3 explosions sounded out as the 3 women stretched out their hands and powerful waves of time energy flowed out. The 3 waves of time energy fused together, giving off a massive wave of time energy, and the surrounding time seemed to slow down. Many time light wheels appeared, one after another. There were over 100 of them, and their auras were extremely shocking. Boom! The 3 women stretched out their hands and pressed down. A wave of time power flowed out and entered the countless wheels of light. The countless wheels of light quickly spun, and the time within the wheels of light quickly retreated. Illusory scenes appeared and flashed by like shadows of light. Suddenly, an image appeared within the countless light wheels. It was an extremely handsome young man dressed in white and holding a bamboo flute. There was flute music around him, and he gave off a powerful aura. He was most likely a time god. Zhao Fu was a little surprised to see this. Shi Ye and the other 2 had used their time reversal ability to condense the previous entrance to the music land of inheritance. However, this figure was blurry. It was not a real entity, nor was it the time god from before. Instead, it was something similar to an afterimage. Boom! The 3 women stretched out their hands again and again, and the countless light wheels quickly shrank before fusing with the illusory figure's body. The illusory figure's body immediately became solid. Shi Ye and the other 2 women said simultaneously, "Find the entrance to the music god's legacy land." Hearing this, the young man flew into the air and picked up his bamboo flute and started to play it, causing a melodious flute sound to ring out. A powerful wave of time power flowed out in the air, and a pink orb of light appeared, giving off countless rays of pink light. This was most likely the entrance to the legacy land. The 3 goddesses stopped their time power and the young man's body disappeared. Shi Ye smiled as he said, "We've found the entrance to the legacy land." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, It's all thanks to you 3. I'll reward you well in the future." The 3 women happily nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu led the others into the orb of light and arrived at the legacy space. There were all sorts of musical instruments floating in the air. There were flutes, guqin, zither, pipa, eru, flute, drums, and so on. All of them gave off a faint light and played moving music. This was most likely a holy land for musical instruments. However, Zhao Fu was not interested and looked at a statue at the center of the stone stage. This statue was of a woman wearing a palace dress and a veil. She had a graceful figure and carried a guqin on her back, and she gave off a powerful godly spirit aura. Zhao Fu directly flew forwards. Clang! A sound wave containing immense power slashed towards Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu took out a sword and vigorously slashed out, dissipating the sound wave as he continued forwards. Clang, 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 the sound waves were like formless blades of air that continuously slashed towards Zhao Fu. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count them all. The sounds they gave off were also quite shocking. Zhao Fu directly sent a powerful wave of power into the sword in his hand, causing it to give off a powerful sword light. A shocking sword energy spread out, and Zhao Fu vigorously swung out, causing a massive sword light to slash out with destructive power. Boom! The terrifying sword light dissipated all of the sound waves, resulting in a massive explosion. A wave of energy blasted out like a wild gale, causing people to feel terror. After dealing with the sound waves, Zhao Fu came before the stone statue. Now, it was up to the stone statue to see if it would give him a legacy power, as Zhao Fu did not understand music at all. The stone statue's gaze fell on Zhao Fu's body and it frowned, as if it did not like Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu could not help but feel worried. Boom! An explosion rang out as the stone statue's forehead shone with a pink light, and a powerful surge of divine power flowed out. Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. This stone statue seemed to be the same as the other stone statues. Even though it did not like Zhao Fu, it still wanted to give Zhao Fu a legacy power. Boom! An explosion once again rang out as the stone statue shot out a pink ray of light that landed on Zhao Fu's body with a powerful aura, and a powerful surge of sovereign power flowed out of Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu could sense how powerful the music sovereign's power was, and he closed his eyes, focusing on absorbing the sovereign power. Because his body had already fused with quite a bit of sovereign power, Zhao Fu was able to quickly absorb this surge of power. Following this, one explosion after another rang out as the sovereign stone statue poured all of its legacy power into Zhao Fu's body. Following this, the stone statue's power and aura began to dissipate before disappearing as well. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the pink light in the sky gave off shocking power. It gave off an intense pink light and a powerful aura as it turned into a ray of light and shot into the sky. Chapter 2198. Asterisk bang. Asterisk with a loud sound, the pink sphere exploded, and a pink wave of light spread out with a powerful aura. Countless sounds of music rang out in the sky. In the sky there were 24 circles. One of them emitted a pink light, as though the circle was filled with pink light. Now only 2 circles did not emit any light. F***ck. That's fast. I only received the legacy a few hours ago. I thought I would have to wait for a day. I didn't expect to receive the legacy of a sovereign so quickly. How did that person do it? Yeah. I feel like it's much faster than before. Now there are only 2 sovereigns' legacy left. Let's get ready to leave. The final stage of the competition is about to begin. Alas, what a pity! In the final stage of the competition, all the experts will appear and engage in fierce battles. I feel like staying here and watching for myself will be very shocking. Alright, don't talk about this. You can interfere with the matters of those important figures. I think we should all get ready to leave. I didn't get anything good in this competition of gods. Right. I feel so angry. It's all that person's fault for starting the competition so early, causing us to not get many good things. But we can't afford to offend that person. Now that we are at the final stage, we will soon find out who that person is. Zhao Fu opened his eyes. He had just absorbed the powerful musical sovereign's power. He could feel that the 10,000 deities' power was almost at its limit. It had a terrifying power that could easily destroy everything. At the same time, Zhao Fu's body had changed slightly. His body and bloodline had improved slightly, and he had gained some abilities related to music. Right now, he was still missing 2 types of sovereign's power. Right now, the 10,000 deities' power had reached a limit. If he could fuse the last 2 types of sovereign's power, the 10,000 deities' power might very well break through that limit and transform. Zhao Fu did not waste any time. He was very much looking forward to the transformation that the 10,000 deities' power would undergo after fusing with all of the sovereign's power. Thus, he led the others to continue searching for the sovereign's legacy. However, now that they were at the final stage, the last two legacy lands were rather hard to find. Zhao Fu followed his senses and arrived in front of a city. This city was quite big, and there were all sorts of people on the streets. The scene was quite lively, but this was not a real city, and was instead an illusion. Similarly, Zhao Fu did not find the entrance when he came here. Fortunately, Zhao Fu had the ability to deal with illusions. He would not be as helpless as he was at the entrance to the land of music inheritance. A wave of power entered the glassy pupil in his left eye, and the glassy pupil immediately shot out countless rays of glassy light. The scene in front of him immediately changed, and the city became blurry and did not seem as real as before. Zhao Fu looked at the deepest part of the city and found a white ball. That should be the entrance to the land of inheritance. After that, Zhao Fu and the others were not surprised. He entered the land of inheritance directly. This was most likely the land of inheritance of an illusion sovereign god. The sky was filled with all sorts of illusions, such as fish swimming in the ocean, people walking in the desert, and wild beasts walking in the forest. There was a stone statue in front of Zhao Fu. It was a skinny young man wearing a long robe and holding a magic staff that gave off powerful divine power. Zhao Fu turned into a ray of light and shot forwards. The stone statue gave off a massive illusory power that spread out in all directions. The surroundings started to change, turning into a demonic abyss. The sky was blood-red and the ground was dark. Countless demons roared as they rushed over. Zhao Fu's expression did not change. He once again sent power into the glassy pupil, and all of the illusions disappeared. With the glassy pupil, Zhao Fu did not fear any illusions. Zhao Fu came before the stone statue, and the stone statue gave off a trace of a smile. Its forehead gave off boundless light, and a powerful illusory power spread out. Boom! A massive explosion rang out as a white ray of light shot out from the stone statue's forehead, landing on Zhao Fu's body with great force. That massive amount of sovereign power continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu had a solemn look on his face as he absorbed that surge of sovereign power. Because the 10,000 deities' power had already reached a limit, it would be very difficult for him to fuse any more divine power into it. Boom! 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 Rays of light continuously shot out from the stone statue's forehead, and the legacy power continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body. Finally, the stone statue disappeared. Zhao Fu stood where he was and refined the divine power. His body gave off strands of rainbow-colored 10,000 deities' power, and a formless might spread out. The space around him started to crack, and black lightning continuously flashed out. Sensing this 10,000 deities' power, the women could not help but feel some fear. Their hairs all stood on end, and their power seemed to be suppressed by an invisible force. This was how powerful the 10,000 deities' power was, and it was given out automatically. Zhao Fu did not personally use it, otherwise it would be even more terrifying. Boom! Outside the legacy land, a massive explosion sounded out as a white orb of light exploded out with an enormous amount of power. It gave off countless rays of white light and gave off a powerful aura as it turned into a ray of light and shot into the sky. Bang! An enormous explosion rang out as the white orb exploded, and a powerful wave of light spread out like a hot knife through butter. An enormous wave of illusionary power spread out in all directions, and some illusions appeared in the sky. In the sky there was an enormous 24 circular magic formation, and one of them gave off a white light, making it seem as though the circle was filled with white light. Right now there was still one circle that had yet to give off any light. Zhao Fu had also fused the illusion sovereign's divine power into the 10,000 deities' power, and he felt that even the heavens and the earth were unable to withstand such terrifying power. The 10,000 deities' power, which had already been at its limit, had now fused with another type of sovereign power. It was almost at its limit, and it felt as though it would explode at the slightest touch. Right now, it was just lacking that last bit of sovereign power. Zhao Fu had a smile on his face as he led everyone away, continuing to search for the sovereign legacy land. A few hours later, Zhao Fu sensed another sovereign legacy power. The entrance to this legacy land was buried deep underground, and it gave off traces of deathly aura. If Zhao Fu had not fused with the ocean goddess, he might not have been able to discover this entrance. Zhao Fu directly dug a tunnel that led underground, and after an hour or so, he finally arrived at a large cave. Within it, there was a gray orb of light that was surrounded by a massive deathly aura. It was most likely a death sovereign. When Zhao Fu got close, the gray orb of light gave off a powerful deathly aura that corroded Zhao Fu's body, causing Zhao Fu's life force to quickly fade. Chapter 2199. Zhao Fu released a defensive barrier, easily blocking this deathly aura, before leading his people into the legacy ground. The sky within the legacy ground was gray, and the ground was covered with countless white bones. The surroundings were completely silent, and there was an aura of death everywhere, making people's hairs stand on end. There was a stage in front of them, and on it was a stone statue of a skinny old man. He wore a long robe and held a sickle, and he gave off a powerful deathly aura. Zhao Fu walked forwards. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the stone statue gave off boundless gray light, and a massive deathly aura flowed out. Countless wandering souls appeared in the surroundings. Men, women, elderly, children, and of different races. There were many wandering souls, and they were so densely packed that it was impossible to count them all. They gave off a massive deathly aura as they flooded towards Zhao Fu, giving off a shocking aura. Zhao Fu took out the slaughtering ghost sword and sent a massive wave of power into it. The slaughtering ghost sword gave off countless traces of ghostly qi, and powerful evil ghosts appeared. Xing! Zhao Fu swung the sword in his hand, and the countless evil ghosts around him gave off powerful auras as they ferociously charged at the countless wandering souls. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the countless evil ghosts and wandering souls clashed. The evil ghosts were clearly more powerful, and they were able to tear apart a few wandering souls with a single claw and devour quite a few wandering souls with a single bite. In the end, the countless wandering souls were dealt with by the evil ghosts, and Zhao Fu held the slaughtering ghost sword as he came before the stone statue. Zhao Fu looked at the stone statue in front of him, feeling quite nervous. This was the final god stone statue, and the final stage of the competition was about to begin. After he fused with the final god's power, his 10,000 godly power would go through a final transformation. The stone statue lowered its head and looked at Zhao Fu, and its forehead started to shine with gray light as a deathly aura spread out. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a gray ray of light giving off a massive aura landed on Zhao Fu's body, and a massive amount of deathly aura continuously flowed into him. Zhao Fu's expression immediately became serious, and he closed his eyes as he began to absorb this deathly god's power. Boom! Boom, 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 boom. Massive explosions continuously sounded out as gray rays of light containing immense deathly power continuously shot out from between Zhao Fu's eyebrows and landed on Zhao Fu's body, continuously sending deathly power into Zhao Fu's body. Right now, Zhao Fu was only absorbing the power of the Death Master God into his body. He did not fuse it with the power of the 10,000 gods. As mentioned earlier, the 10,000 gods' power had reached a critical point. It was like a bomb that could explode at the slightest touch, so they had to be careful. Zhao Fu planned to first absorb the power of the 10 over-god inheritances, then fuse them together with the 10,000 deities' power. Boom! A final explosion sounded out as the stone statue shot out a ray of light that gave off a massive aura and landed on Zhao Fu's body, sending a wave of death god power into Zhao Fu's body. After the stone statue was infused with all the inheritance power, the aura it emitted started to slowly disappear. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the gray orb of light exploded out with a massive deathly power and gave off an intense gray-white light. It gave off a shocking aura as it turned into a ray of light and shot into the sky. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the gray orb exploded, causing a gray wave of light to spread out. A deathly power spread out in all directions, causing people to feel a chill. In the sky, there was a massive magic formation with 24 circles, and one of them gave off a gray light as if the circle was filled with gray light. Now, all of the circles in the magic formation gave off different light. Hearing this huge roar, countless people in the mystic realm looked up at the huge array in the sky. What was supposed to come had finally come. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 24 circles gave off different intense light. The massive magic formation quickly spun and a heaven-toppling wave of God power flooded out from it, covering the entire secret realm. Countless people felt their bodies sink and their hairs stand on end as they felt incredibly afraid. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as the massive magic formation gave off an enormous rainbow-colored pillar of light. The heavens and earth quickly gathered as buildings gradually appeared within the massive pillar of light. This building looked like a divine throne, and it was situated in mid-air. There were steps leading to the highest point, and there were all sorts of statues on both sides. There was a muscular man holding a large saber, a seductive woman, a gloomy old man, and all sorts of wild beasts and plants. At the very top was a massive throne that was 10,000 meters tall. It was made of gold and gave off a bright golden light and a massive aura. This throne was the throne of the God King, and only the God King had the right to sit on it and receive the respect and worship of countless people. Everyone looked at the huge throne in the sky in astonishment. They couldn't help but feel excited in their hearts. Boom! At that moment, a massive explosion once again sounded out as the massive magic formation once again sent down 24 pillars of light, and 24 1,000-meter tall stone statues appeared on the ground. The 24 stone statues gave off different lights and massive auras, causing the entire secret realm to feel quite oppressive. Suddenly, the 24 stone statues' foreheads gave off intense light as 24 figures walked out. Their appearances and auras were exactly the same as the stone statues. They were the 24 god kings from back then. However, the ocean goddess expression was quite wooden because this was the ocean goddess that the stone statues had condensed from their own power. The real ocean goddess had already entered Zhao Fu's body. Everyone looked at the scene before them in shock. What's going on? This had never happened before. Before this, the final trial of the competition of the gods would begin immediately after the throne of the Lord of Gods had fallen. Why were there 24 stone statues now? Everyone felt quite confused because this had never happened before. They could not guess what would happen next, and they stared at the 24 stone statues, wanting to know what would happen next. Boom! 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 The 24 God King images stretched out their hands and massive waves of God King's power shot towards the massive magic formation in the sky. The massive magic formation gave off a terrifying divine power that covered the heavens and earth. At the center of the magic formation, a circular hole giving off white light gradually appeared, and a massive God King's aura flowed out from it. Countless people were shocked when they sensed the aura. Chapter 2200. Heavens! This is the aura of the first God Lord. What's going on? Why did the first God Lord's aura appear? What's in that cave? It's a pity we can't enter. I think it's most likely a legacy land left behind by the first God Lord. The 24 God Lords all have legacy lands, so it's understandable that the strongest God Lord would have a legacy land. That's hard to say. We've never heard of the first God Lord leaving behind a legacy land. Moreover, so many years have passed, so why did the first God Lord's legacy land only appear now? That's right, I'm also curious. If this really is a God Lord's legacy land, Why did it only appear now? The secret realm exists to nurture geniuses for the God race, and the God Lord's legacy should appear like the other God Lord's legacies. That's right. A God Lord's aura does not necessarily mean it's a legacy land, perhaps it's something else. Now that you say it, I understand. Didn't the first God Lord disappear a long time ago? It's also said that he died from the backlash of the heaven and earth fate. Could the first God Lord's corpse be buried there? It's very likely to be true. If it's the tomb of the first generation Lord God, then everything makes sense. However, I'm curious. If it's the God Lord's tomb, why did it suddenly open after so many years? That's quite strange. That's right. If it's the first God Lord's tomb, why did it suddenly open? There must be a reason. I feel that it must be caused by that cloaked brat because he fused 24 God Lord's power. After so many years, only he has been able to do this, which is why the God Lord's tomb has opened. That makes sense. Now I really want to know just who that boy is and why he has such power. I suspect that he's the legendary second King of Kings, Zhao Fu said as he looked at Zhao Fu. Ha ha ha, I think so too. The second King of Kings is an anomaly. He can do many things that others can't. He's definitely a monster. The second King of Kings has 6 Supreme Emperor stars and is only 3 away from having all of the race's Emperor stars. This is simply unimaginable, and this matter has shaken the entire half-celestial world. They are also paying great attention to this matter. That's right, those aren't ordinary stars but 6 Supreme Emperor stars. I dare to say that the legendary celestial world definitely doesn't have such terrifying figures. Ha ha ha, even the celestial world hasn't given birth to a monster, yet our heaven-awakened world has one. Perhaps something shocking will happen in the future. What you're saying is nonsense. In reality, it would be strange if such a terrifying person didn't cause an earth-shattering incident. For example, is the incident he's causing small? To be honest, I do admire him. If I can't befriend such a person, then I will definitely kill him. Wait, I feel that things are not that simple. Maybe he did not cause the opening of the god's tomb. Don't forget that there is another person who is closely related to the Divine Master. The first owner of the heaven and earth divine blade in that person's hand was the Divine Master. Yes, I also support this view. That person's identity seems to be even more terrifying than the person in the cloak. Even the Holy Sun has to be polite in front of him, not daring to offend him. Can you imagine how terrifying he is? You guys can argue first. Let's see how things develop now. The power of the first-generation God Master is even more terrifying than the 24 main God. If he didn't lead the Protoss army to resist back then, we wouldn't have any hope of winning. I admire this great man very much. Yes, it's useless for you to argue about this. Whether it's the land of inheritance or the tomb of the god of sin, it will be revealed later. At that time, we will know who is right and who is wrong. I also admire the first God Lord very much. That hole is located right above the throne of the Master of Gods. I'm afraid that only those who have become the Master of Gods can enter. Not just anyone can enter. Now, it all depends on who can become the Master of Gods. At this time, not only were the people outside the secret realm shocked, but the countless people inside the secret realm were even more shocked. They came out to see this scene with their own eyes, and they could also feel the terrifying power of the Master of God. In front of that power, they felt insignificant, like ants standing in front of a mountain. Moreover, their power and bloodline were also very afraid, and they wanted to surrender and kneel down. Their hearts seemed to be devoutly worshipping this kind of power. Tian Yu and Mia Lu also did not expect such a thing to happen. This time, not only did many mysterious and terrifying people join the Master of Gods, but there were also many unforeseen events. Looking at the white hole that appeared in the center of the spell formation, both of them were more curious about what was inside. However, since only the Master of Gods could enter, they could not help but feel a little expectant. As the owners of the imperial star, in the hearts of countless people, they were the most promising people to become the master of gods. Hao Dao revealed a trace of a smile. His goal in coming to the secret realm was for this, and he was not very interested in the master of gods. Feeling the terrifying power of the master of gods, Hao Dao understood how powerful the previous master of gods was. His master was not wrong at all, and the first owner of the heaven and earth divine blade in his hand was the master of gods. Now, he could be said to be a small part of the master of gods' successor, and he had a significant relationship with the master of gods. This time, Hao Dao's goal was also to inherit all of the master of gods' inheritance, so that his power could improve further. As for the appearance of the light hole, he indeed had his own reasons. This was because he knew that there were 3 conditions for the light hole to appear, and one of them was that the heaven and earth divine blade must be in the secret realm. Without the heaven and earth divine blade, it would be impossible for the light hole to appear. The other 2 conditions were that someone must obtain all of the power of the 24 masters. Hao Dao was originally a little worried about this, because it required all of the power of inheritance from the 24 stone statues. Although there were people who obtained the power of inheritance from the 24 Master of Gods, they did not obtain all of it. Fortunately, this time, a person appeared, and all of the power of inheritance was passed down, so he did not have to worry about this anymore. The last condition was that someone with a very large amount of fate must be in the secret realm, and he could fulfill this condition. Now that the 3 conditions were met, the light hole naturally appeared, but now one had to obtain the Master of Gods to be able to come into contact with the light hole, so Hao Dao could only go and obtain the Master of Gods. Hao Dao was quite confident about this, even if he encountered 2 owners of the Imperial Star. His power had already exceeded the imagination of ordinary sons of gods, and he was very famous in the celestial realm. Chapter 2201. However, at that moment, a person's figure appeared in his mind. His expression became serious, and he no longer felt that intense confidence. That person was naturally Zhao Fu. Out of all the people he had met, Zhao Fu gave him the most pressure. He believed that Zhao Fu's identity was not simple, and that he was his greatest opponent. Looking at the sky, after the white hole appeared, the abnormal signs calmed down. The 24 God Lords' figures disappeared, and the terrifying might in the sky slowly disappeared. The final scene was a huge magic circle slowly rotating in the sky. There was a white hole in the center that emitted a bright white light. Below it was a huge throne of the Lord of Gods. This throne had already landed on the ground, and around it were 24 statues of the Lord of Gods. They were spread out in a circle with it as the center. It was still covered by a massive power, and no one could go near it. Only the person who became the Master of Gods could enter. System announcement. The final stage of the Master of Gods trial has begun. All those whose God's marks have not reached violet grade will be forcibly teleported to the secret realm. This system announcement sounded out in countless people's minds. Before they could react, a wave of energy wrapped around them and teleported them out. The originally spacious platform was instantly filled with people. Everyone felt quite surprised. They had thought that they could stay in the land of gods as long as they were at gold grade, but they had never thought that the difficulty would increase and 99.9% of the people would be eliminated. Now, there were at most 300 or so people in the secret realm. Before entering the secret realm, there had been at least a few million people, but now there were only a few hundred. There were less than 10 people who had a chance of becoming the Master of God. After all, those who had been defeated by others had no chance of becoming the Master of God. Those who remained in the secret realm let out a sigh of relief. As long as the Master of God's trial did not end, they could continue to stay here. They knew very well that they could not compete with those peerless geniuses for the Master of God's title, so they could only use this period of time to continue to obtain treasures or legacy power. Those who had been teleported out could not help but feel a bit disappointed. However, because they had mentally prepared themselves, their emotions did not fluctuate too much. Now, their eyes were all focused on the mirror. Next, they would be watching the battles between the peerless geniuses. They were very excited to see who would become this year's Master of the Gods. This year's competition was different from the previous ones. It was much more difficult. There were many powerhouses, and there were many unforeseen events. Whoever could obtain the title of Master of Pantheon would definitely be an amazing person. In the underground Death God's inheritance ground, Zhao Fu sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. He was wholeheartedly integrating the Death God's inheritance power into the myriad deities' power. This process was very difficult. At this time, the 10,000 God power had already reached a critical point. Zhao Fu needed to fuse the Death God power bit by bit into it. Suddenly, waves of terrifying divine power surged out from Zhao Fu's body, forming wild gales that blew outwards. The ground began to crack. The women also understood that Zhao Fu was at a critical moment, so they did not dare to disturb him and retreated far away. Within Zhao Fu's body, traces of the Death God's inheritance power continuously fused into the divinity in Zhao Fu's mind. That wave of divine power just then was a type of power that the divinity automatically gave off, and it was incredibly dangerous. As Zhao Fu continuously fused the Death God's inheritance power into the divinity, the divine power that the divinity gave off became more and more powerful. Intense gales continuously blew out, and the ground continuously cracked. The temperature plummeted, making it seem like a world of ice and snow. Zhao Fu slowly sent the last trace of the Death God's inheritance power into the divinity. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rainbow-colored lights shot out from Zhao Fu's body. An extremely terrifying divine power exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, and everything within 10,000 meters, including bones, ground, rocks, and grass, instantly shattered. Countless fragments shot everywhere like rain, and even Shen Qianhua and the other women in the distance were affected. They immediately unleashed defensive barriers to defend. At the same time, sensing that wave of divine power, their bodies, souls, and bloodlines all felt a sense of fear. That power was far above theirs, and it greatly suppressed them. It was a power that they feared. At that moment, Zhao Fu sat cross-legged in the air, his body giving off rainbow-colored light. His long black hair became rainbow-colored, and a rainbow-colored 10,000 God seal appeared on his forehead, and rainbow-colored divine runes descended from it. Zhao Fu slowly opened his eyes, which shot out 2 rays of rainbow-colored light. The whites of his eyes also became rainbow-colored, and there were faint divine runes within them. The divinity in Zhao Fu's mind was no longer black and gave off demonic light, but rainbow-colored and gave off a wave of 10,000 God's power. However, there was not much joy on Zhao Fu's face. Even though Zhao Fu's 10,000 God's power was very powerful and had gone through changes, it was only in a half-transformed state and had not completely transformed. If Zhao Fu wanted his 10,000 God's power to completely transform, he would most likely need an extremely powerful divine power. Only then would his 10,000 God's power be the true 10,000 God's power. However, the transformed 10,000 God's power had greatly increased Zhao Fu's constitution and power, and his bloodline now had a trace of the 10,000 God's bloodline. Boom! God Kerr, who was sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak, felt a massive wave of power enter his body, and he gave off a massive divine might that covered the heavens and earth, causing the heavens and earth to tremble in fear. God Kerr could not help but loudly laugh. That person's power had once again started to transform. This gave him great benefits, causing his bloodline, power, and constitution to go through changes. Now that he sensed how terrifying that power was, God Kerr felt even more confident in challenging the person with the Emperor's star. As long as he had a supreme Emperor star, he would not have to fear that person anymore. He did not believe that he would not be a match for that person even with a supreme Emperor star. If he could devour that person, he would definitely become the most powerful expert in the godly world, and he would be many times more terrifying than Tianyu. Now, God Kerr was sure that that person was not in the secret realm because that person's power had gone through such a massive change. He could definitely sense it, but he could not sense it at all, which meant that that person was not in the secret realm. God Kerr finally relaxed and did not worry about that person appearing in the secret realm. At the same time, he focused on challenging the person with the Emperor's star and obtaining the title of the ruler of all gods. What God Kerr did not know was that Zhao Fu was already in the secret realm. The celestial concealment medallion on him was so powerful that he could not sense anything. However, the competition was reaching its final stages, and the two of them would soon meet. When that time came, who knew what kind of sparks would fly? Chapter 2202. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as God Kerr's pitchfork shot out with terrifying force, piercing through a massive crocodile. Blood flew everywhere, and the crocodile immediately died. God Kerr gave a trace of a smile and grabbed at the air. A blue godhood floated out from the crocodile's corpse and flew into God Kerr's hand. Now that it knew that that person was no longer in the secret realm, God Kerr became much more relaxed. A burly man with blood-red hair and a coarse-looking face came over and coldly looked at God Kerr condescendingly as he said, "You're the so-called third-rank genius?" This person was Beast War, from the 10,000 Divine Beasts faction. This faction had been in hiding for a long time and was preparing to become a Saint-grade faction. It was even more powerful than the Demon God Emperor. God Kerr frowned. This was the first time someone had dared to speak to it like this, and he said in a domineering and arrogant tone, "I am. Who do you think you are?" A trace of anger appeared on Beast War's face as he said, "You're seeking death. I'll start with you and then challenge the possessor of the Emperor's star." Boom! A massive wave of power exploded out from Beast War's body, and his body gave off boundless white light as a powerful might covered the surroundings. God Kerr coldly laughed as it said, "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Boom! A massive wave of power exploded out from God Kerr's body, and its body gave off boundless demonic light as a terrifying demonic might spread out. Beast War took out a large saber and gave off shocking power as he rushed towards God Kerr. God Kerr stretched out its hand, and the pitchfork returned to its hand from the crocodile's corpse. It gave off a powerful aura as it rushed towards Beast War. Shing! Beast War's saber slashed towards God Kerr, and God Kerr vigorously slashed out with its pitchfork. The two attacks collided, causing countless sparks to fly out. Beast War retreated and sent a powerful wave of power into his saber, causing it to give off an intense saber light. He vigorously slashed out, causing a massive saber light to fly towards God Kerr. God Kerr's wings flapped, and it turned into a blur as it dodged to the side, avoiding Beast War's attack and rushing towards Beast War. Beast War coldly smiled as he raised his saber, causing it to give off an intense saber light and a terrifying saber aura. Boom! Beast Warrior slashed down with his saber and a massive saber light containing terrifying power slashed down. It seemed as if it could destroy everything. Kerr's gaze was cold, and he did not choose to dodge. He sent some of his power into his pitchfork, causing it to give off an intense demonic light. He vigorously swung it, causing a massive black crescent blade to slash forwards with immense power. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the terrifying saber light and crescent moon blade collided. The saber light split the black crescent moon blade in half, and it continued to ferociously slash towards God Kerr. God Kerr's body dodged to the side, immediately avoiding this attack, and it once again struck out with its pitchfork. Shio! 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 3 black beams of light shot out from the pitchfork, bringing with them a sharp power as they flew forward. They were extremely fast, streaking across the sky. Shou Zhan used his saber to block the 3 incoming black beams of light. Boom! Suddenly, God Kerr appeared in front of him, raised its pitchfork, and smashed it towards Beast War with immense power. Bestial War's expression changed, and he continued to use his saber to block. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the pitchfork smashed against the saber, and Beast War was forced back 5 or 6 meters before stopping. God Kerr gave a mocking smile as it said, "Looks like you're only SOSO, and yet you dare to act so arrogantly in front of me." Boom! Beast War was infuriated, and a massive pale white aura flame appeared around his body as a massive pale white tiger appeared on the star. It gave a massive roar and gave off a ferocious aura as it rushed towards God Kerr. God Kerr sent some of its power into the pitchfork, causing it to give off a demonic light as a gigantic pitchfork image appeared. God Kerr gripped its pitchfork and stabbed forwards, and the pitchfork image gave off shocking power as it stabbed out like lightning, instantly piercing through the pale white tiger. Bang! The pale white tiger exploded, causing countless pale white auras to scatter in all directions as a massive wind blew out. Roar! 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 3 massive roars sounded out as 3 more ferocious pale white tigers rushed out from Beast War's body, giving off powerful auras as they pounced towards God Kerr from the left, right, and center. God Kerr felt quite startled, and it stretched out a hand. A massive wave of power flowed out as a massive shield with a demon picture on it appeared in front of God Kerr. Bang! 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 The 3 ferocious tigers gave off immense power as they slammed into the massive shield and exploded. A terrifying shockwave blasted out, causing the shield to shatter and God Kerr to be sent flying. Beast War coldly laughed as he said, "You're only SOSO." God Kerr felt furious and stretched out a hand, causing a massive wave of demonic chi to spread out from it, forming a massive demonic hand that gave off shocking power as it grabbed towards Beast Battle. Beast War's body once again ignited with an aura flame, forming a massive tiger that ferociously rushed towards God Kerr. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the pale white tiger and demonic hand once again collided, resulting in a massive explosion. A shockwave spread out, creating a powerful wind that caused many trees to sway. Boom! God Kerr furiously rushed out from the explosion and stabbed its pitchfork towards Beast War, causing a massive black ray of light to shoot out with destructive power. Beast War dodged to the side, avoiding this attack before slashing out with his saber, sending out a saber light towards God Kerr. God Kerr vigorously swung its pitchfork, shattering the incoming saber light. Boom! A massive wave of power once again flowed out from Beast War's body as ferocious wolves rushed out from his body. Each wolf was 5 or 6 meters long, and there were hundreds of them, giving off a ferocious aura as they charged towards God Kerr. God Kerr did not feel any fear, and it quickly rushed forwards while swinging its pitchfork, sending out black crescent moons that killed wolf after wolf. Soon, God Kerr arrived in front of Beast War. The pitchfork in its hand gave off countless rays of black light as it ferociously stabbed towards Beast War. However, Beast War just stood there with a cold smile on his face, showing no intention of attacking or dodging. Chapter 2203. Boom! A massive creature appeared behind Beast Warrior. It was a massive whale. Its body was pale white, and its eyes were blood red. There was a single horn on its head, and it gave off a powerful aura. Roar! The massive whale opened its mouth and gave off a massive roar, and the sound wave brought with it a berserk gale as it rushed forwards with terrifying power, seeming to be able to destroy everything. Bang! God Kerr was sent flying back 100 or so meters before stopping, and a trace of blood leaked out of its mouth. Beast Warrior smiled as he flew to the massive whale's head, looked at God Kerr, and gave the order to attack. Roar! The massive whale opened its mouth and sucked in a large amount of air before shooting out a massive air bomb, which gave off a shocking aura as it shot towards God Kerr. God Kerr was unable to dodge such a large air bomb at all. Boom! God Kerr spread out its hands, and a massive wave of power flowed out. Its body gave off boundless demonic light as a massive figure appeared behind God Kerr. This figure looked exactly like God Kerr, and it had a powerful body and 3 pairs of wings. Its body gave off a massive divine might, and it was God Kerr's divine image. Bang! The massive ball of air arrived in front of God Kerr, and God Kerr controlled the massive God image behind it to vigorously swing its pitchfork, slamming it against the ball of air with terrifying force. The ball of air exploded, turning into a wild gale that blew away. Bang! Bang! Beast War's expression was cold as he controlled the massive whale under his feet to continuously shoot out massive air bombs towards God Kerr, giving off a terrifying aura. God Kerr stood its ground and did not move at all. It controlled the God image to continuously swing its pitchfork, destroying the incoming air blasts and causing powerful gusts of wind to blow outwards. Seeing that he was unable to attack God Kerr, Beast Warrior controlled the massive whale to give off a monstrous aura as it charged towards God Kerr, bringing with it a massive gale. God Kerr did not feel any fear, and it controlled the image behind it to give off a shocking aura as it also charged towards the massive whale. The two of them were incredibly fast, and in just an instant they were only a few dozen meters apart. Boom! The massive whale gave off an intense pale white light, dyeing the entire world a pale white color. A massive wave of power flowed out, and the whale rushed forwards with this power, seeming to be able to crush everything. Boom! God Kerr's image also gave off boundless demonic light, dyeing the heavens and earth black. A terrifying demonic might flowed out, and the image gave off this power as it charged towards the pale white whale. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the two of them collided, resulting in a massive explosion. A terrifying shockwave containing enough power to destroy everything instantly blasted out. The mountains, ground, grass, trees, and rocks were all blasted apart. A massive shockwave mixed with countless shards swept out in all directions, seeming to destroy everything and making it impossible for anyone to defend. The ground violently trembled, and from the distance, it seemed to be covered by a layer of haze as a terrifying aura continuously flowed out. The people in the secret realm immediately sensed these ripples and understood that there were peerless geniuses engaged in intense battles. It was just that they didn't know who was fighting who. Not only here, but there were also terrifying fluctuations coming from other places. One was the battle between the 12th-ranked Weapon God and the 11th-ranked Dark God. Another was the battle between the 10th-ranked Hikari Kamui and the 8th-ranked Bai Shogun. The last one was the battle between the 9th-ranked Lei Tianba and the 7th-ranked Devourer. Although they had been defeated by others and had no chance of obtaining the position of Master of Gods, they could still challenge others to prove that they were stronger than the previous ones. Right now, everyone outside the secret realm had looks of excitement on their faces as they watched the terrifying battles erupt. The most eye-catching battle was naturally between God Kerr and Beast War. After all, they were the most powerful and had the most prestigious statuses. His gaze returned to the battlefield. A crater that was tens of thousands of meters wide had appeared in the ground. Rocks were scattered everywhere, and it was a complete mess. Two people lay on the ground with traces of blood at the corners of their mouth. God Kerr crawled up from the ground and coldly looked at Beast Battle. It understood how terrifying this opponent was and did not hesitate. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying aura exploded out from Kerr's body. His body rose into the air and gave off boundless black light. The black light covered the entire world, making it seem as if the world had darkened. An incredibly terrifying power flowed out from Kerr's body. This power seemed to be formed from countless traces of divine power, and it was incredibly terrifying. It was as if the world could not withstand it, and the ground continuously collapsed. His body became stronger, and the 3 pairs of wings on his back grew black scales on one side and black feathers on the other. His eyes turned into 3 black magatama heads that formed together. Moreover, a black wheel of light appeared on his back. The wheel of light had runes on it, and it was incredibly profound and mysterious. It gave off a terrifying divine might. Beast Battle crawled up from the ground and looked at God Kerr with a serious expression. He no longer looked down on God Kerr, and he did not hesitate anymore. Boom! A shocking explosion once again sounded out as countless rays of white light shot out from Beast Battle's body, illuminating the surroundings. Illusory figures appeared around Beast Battle. There were cows, horses, pigs, wolves, tigers. After the countless illusory figures appeared, they all flowed towards Beast Battle. After the illusory figures entered Beast Battle's body, countless runes appeared on his body. Beast Battle's body quickly became bigger, and his blood-red hair madly grew. In the end, Beast Battle was 3 meters tall and had explosive muscles. He was not wearing any clothes and was covered with pale runes. His blood-red hair spread out like a lion's hair, and there were 2 bone horns on his head. His eyes were blood-red, and he looked like a demon. A terrifying wave of 10,000 beasts' power exploded out from his body, and the ground was unable to withstand it and continuously collapsed. God Kerr stood in the sky and gave off a terrifying demonic light, dyeing the surroundings black and giving off a massive demonic might. Beast Battle stood on the ground and gave off a pale white light, dyeing the surroundings white and giving off a terrifying aura. It was as if the 2 of them were in 2 different worlds, and their massive auras continuously clashed, forming massive gales that blew out in all directions, causing people to feel terror. Chapter 2204. One of them had the power of 10,000 beasts, while the other had the power of 10,000 gods. Both of them were incredibly terrifying powers. Bang! The 2 of them instantly turned into rays of light as they shot towards each other. In the next second, the 2 rays of light collided, resulting in a massive explosion. Cracks appeared in the air, and the ground cracked. Bang! 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 The 2 of them started to fight intensely in the air. Kerr continuously swung his pitchfork, giving off terrifying power as he slashed at Kerr, while Beast War also slashed at Kerr with his saber. Shock waves continuously blasted out, causing deafening sounds to ring out. The ground continuously shattered, and a wild gale blew, making it seem as if the world was about to be destroyed. Boom! Beast War gripped his saber with both hands and vigorously slashed out, sending out a massive saber light with shocking power that sent God Kerr flying. God Kerr flew back a few hundred meters, and there was a trace of blood at its mouth. It raised its pitchfork, and the black wheel of light behind it became 1,000 meters wide, giving off a boundless divine might. Boom! Divine inscriptions lit up on the 10,000 God technique, and the 10,000 God technique started to slowly spin. Heaven and earth power flowed into it, and a massive black ray of light shot towards Beast War with an unstoppable momentum. Beast War felt quite startled and blocked with his saber. Countless traces of pale white light shot out, forming a pale white crystal defensive barrier. Bang! The massive black ray of light slammed into Beast War's body, causing him to crash to the ground. A terrifying power exploded out, causing the ground to crack, and a 10,000-meter wide crater appeared. Within the crater, Beast War coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and there were a few wounds on his body. He furiously crawled up from the ground. Boom! A massive pale white aura flame exploded out from his body, and wild beasts appeared around him. There were pigs, tigers, leopards, snakes, wolves, bears, and others. There were 100,000 of them, and each of them was 10 or so meters long. They gave off powerful auras and gave off terrifying auras. Roar! 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 The countless wild beasts gave off massive roars and gave off immense power as they charged at God Kerr in the sky. They formed a massive beast tide that seemed to want to destroy everything, and their sounds shook the surroundings. God Kerr's expression was cold as it stretched out a hand and pressed forwards. The black wheel behind it quickly spun, and a shocking aura spread out. Boom! Boom, boom, boom! The corporeal body shot out tens of thousands of rays of black light, giving off boundless godly power as they shot forwards incredibly quickly. They flashed past as if they could pierce through the world. Bang, 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 beams of light pierced through the beasts, and explosions sounded out as explosive powers spread out. Large holes were blasted into the ground. Roar! Suddenly, a massive beast's roar sounded out as Beast War suddenly appeared behind God Kerr and slashed out with his saber. A massive lion behind him gave a massive roar and rushed towards God Kerr with world-destroying power. Kerr felt quite startled and hurriedly used the 10,000 deity Great Art to block in front of him. The 10,000 deity Great Art gave off a black light and a terrifying aura surged out. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the massive lion gave off terrifying power as it smashed against the wall, shattering it and causing a terrifying shockwave to ripple out, forming a massive storm. God Kerr's body was sent flying, but it was not heavily injured because the 10,000 God corporeal body had blocked most of the power. After the lion shattered the 10,000 God corporeal body, it turned into countless traces of pale aura and dissipated. Beast War gave a savage smile as he gripped his saber and rushed at God Kerr. God Kerr looked furious and sent a wave of power into its pitchfork. It vigorously stabbed forwards, and a massive black ray of light shot forwards with shocking power. Beast War slashed out with his saber, and a sharp saber light slashed the black ray of light in half. God Kerr flapped its wings and disappeared, reappearing in front of Beast War. The pitchfork in its hand gave off boundless black light, making it look like a sword of light. Boom! God Kerr raised the sword of light and gave off a boundless demonic might as it slashed towards Beast War. Beast War blocked with his saber, but he was smashed into the ground by the massive sword energy, opening up a large crater. Beast War crawled up from the ground and did not seem to have suffered much damage. God Kerr coldly looked at Beast War on the ground and raised its pitchfork. It exploded out with all of its 10,000 gods' power, causing the air to twist as a massive black ray of light shot into the sky. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as a massive hole seemed to be blasted open in the sky by the black ray of light. Boundless demonic chi poured down like water from a heavenly river, seeming to drown the entire world. Everything in the surroundings was corroded by the demonic chi and started to become demonic. Roar! 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 Massive roars sounded out as the demonic chi turned into massive demons that appeared around God Kerr. They were so dense that it was impossible to count them, and they gave off a world-shaking demonic might. God Kerr pointed with its pitchfork. Boom! The countless demons flooded towards Beast War on the ground, bringing with them a destructive power and a massive aura. No one could stop them at all. Boom! Beast War also exploded out with all of his 10,000 beasts' power. His body gave off a pale white light, and the images of countless animals appeared around him. There were cows, wolves, dogs, bears, lions. After the images of countless beasts appeared, Beast War raised the large saber in his hand, and the countless beasts flooded into the large saber. Countless runes appeared on the large saber, forming an incantation saber that gave off a destructive power. The air seemed to be locked down. Boom! Facing the flood of demons, Beast War slashed down with his saber, and a massive saber light containing the terrifying 10,000 beasts' power slashed out, seeming to split the heavens and earth in half. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the massive saber light gave off shocking power and split the demon wave in half. The terrifying saber energy tore apart countless demons, causing them to turn into demonic chi and scatter. It was as if the sky had been split open, and a massive saber gash appeared. Countless chaotic auras flowed out, creating a terrifying scene. Suddenly, God Kerr appeared near Beast War and raised its pitchfork, giving off a black light that formed an extremely thin black sword of light. It was at least a few thousand meters long, and it seemed to pierce into the sky. Shing! A massive sword hum sounded out as Kerr's sword slashed down. The thin black sword of light gave off unimaginable power as it slashed out, seeming to be able to destroy the entire world. Beast War was greatly shocked and hurriedly used his saber to block in front of him, using all of his power to defend. Chapter 2205. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as Beast War was sent flying, and the ground beneath him instantly crumbled as the sword light continued to extend outwards. After everything settled, a 10,000-meter long, 100-meter deep, and 10 or so meter wide gash appeared on the ground, giving off an aura of destruction and causing people to feel a sense of fear. Now, countless people nervously looked at the scene in the mirror. Would Beast War still have the ability to fight after receiving such a terrifying attack? However, after waiting for a while, there was still no reaction. In the end, everyone found a bloodied Beast War lying in a pile of rubble, unconscious. Evidently, God Kerr had won. The scene immediately went into an uproar, and countless people excitedly yelled out God Kerr's name. God Kerr's so powerful. I like him so much. I feel that God Kerr has the highest chance of becoming the ruler of all gods. I support him. That's right, God Kerr really surprised us. That Beast War could have been ranked third on the Heaven's Pride rankings, but because his family went into hiding and he didn't appear much, he didn't have a ranking. Now, God Kerr has used his strength to prove himself and defeated Beast War, who was even more terrifying than him. Now, it's up to him to see if he can win against those with Emperor stars. Anyone below the Emperor star level won't be a match for him. I'm looking forward to his battle against the legatees. I also support him and hope that he can become the ruler of all gods. Why do I feel that God Kerr's 10,000 godly power is even stronger than before? That boundless divine might is even more terrifying, and it can suppress other divine powers even more. It's as if he's the true ruler of all gods. I also feel that 10,000 godly power gives me a pressure that makes me want to submit. It's much more terrifying than before, and I don't know why. Why? Don't you know? Didn't you see God Kerr continuously fusing with a godhood? Evidently, it's because of fusing with a godhood. I know that God Kerr has fused with a godhood, but don't you feel that it's become much stronger? I don't know why, but it might be because of fusing with a godhood. A trace of a confident smile appeared on God Kerr's face. After defeating the beast, his god's mark had become a 9-colored god mark, and as long as he had a 9-colored god mark, he would have the right to become the ruler of the gods. If he did not, he would not even have the right to become the ruler of the gods. Moreover, God Kerr could sense a massive amount of fate being added to its body. This fate was only added and had not truly fused with it. After the competition, it would fuse with its own fate. However, the prerequisite was that it did not lose to anyone else, or else its fate would be lost. With such a huge amount of fate attached to his body, the benefits were also very great. He could faintly sense a trace of the Supreme God Star's ripples, which meant that it was quite possible for him to awaken the Supreme God Star. All he lacked now was fate. With enough fate, he was confident that he would be able to awaken the God race's Emperor Star. Now, God Kerr planned to recover its strength and return to its peak state before challenging the possessors of the Emperor Star. After the battle on this side ended, the other battlefields were still very intense. Waves of terrifying fluctuations constantly spread out. Shifting his gaze to the other side, Zhao Fu retracted the power of the 10,000 deities and returned to his ordinary appearance. That unparalleled divine might also dissipated. The women all let out sighs of relief. Everyone else knew that the second King of Kings was incredibly terrifying and surpassed ordinary people's imaginations, but standing next to Zhao Fu, they could sense just how terrifying he was. Just now, under that unparalleled godly might, Even Shen Qianhua and Yu Chan, who were peerless geniuses, felt a strong sense of fear, and their bodies became cold. This was the first time they had felt this way. Zhao Fu flew to their side and said with a smile, "Let's leave this place." Shen Qianhua asked curiously, "Husband, how is your 10,000 deities' power now? Had it successfully transformed into a supreme being? It feels like a really terrifying power." Now, unknowingly, Zhao Fu was giving Shen Qianhua a formless pressure, causing the originally domineering Shen Qianhua to obediently call him husband. Hearing her words, Zhao Fu replied with a smile, "Right now, the myriad deity's power has yet to truly transform. It is only in a half-transformed state. In order to truly transform, it will require a powerful overgod's power. A fully transformed myriad deity's power will be even more powerful than it is now." What? All the women looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Such a terrifying myriad deity's power, and it was still in a half-transformed state. If the myriad deity's power had truly transformed, how terrifying would it be? Shen Qianhua asked, "Husband, now that you've acquired all 24 pieces of sovereign's might, it seems as though there isn't much left. How do you plan to completely transform the myriad deity's might?" Right now, the women were still within the legacy space, and did not know what had happened outside. Zhao Fu did not know that the first Divine Master's power had appeared, but he had thought of a way. Zhao Fu replied to Shen Qianhua, "Without Overgod's power, we can only choose a power that is not weaker than Overgod's power. Even though the effects might not be as powerful as Overgod's power, it should be able to completely transform the myriad deity's might." Shen Qianhua smiled and said expectantly, "The truly transformed myriad deity's might will definitely be the sovereign's power. When that time comes, don't forget about us, husband." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded, "I won't mistreat you." Following this, the group left the legacy space and went outside. Looking at the scene outside, they were somewhat shocked. Zhao Fu looked at the white light and smiled. Now that he had found the final trace of divine power, Divine Master's power was even more terrifying than Overgod's power, and it would definitely be able to successfully transform the myriad deity's might. It seemed that only by becoming the ruler of all gods would one be able to obtain the God Lord's power. Now, Zhao Fu had another reason to obtain the 10,000 godly power. Now, Zhao Fu had many reasons to obtain the Master of the Gods. The first was to obtain the God Fire, the second was to awaken the God Race's Emperor Star, and the third was to obtain Divine Master's power. Even though Zhao Fu had not experienced any intense battles, through continuously obtaining Divine Master's legacies, he had obtained the 9-colored God Seal, and he had the right to become the Master of the Gods. However, Zhao Fu did not plan to seek out battles, as he felt that there was no need. After all, he only needed to defeat the last person. There was no need to challenge everyone. Of course, unless someone else came looking for him, Zhao Fu could only do so. Now, Zhao Fu's goal in coming to the God Realm was only the 12 zodiac beasts. Everything else could only be completed after he became the Divine Master. Chapter 2206. That was Zhao Fu's plan. He would first find the final zodiac goddess and wait for countless people to kill each other before appearing. However, now that the competition had reached its final stage, countless godly spirits had been eliminated, and there were only a few godly spirits left. Perhaps the zodiac goddess was not among them. Zhao Fu decided to look around. Now that he had obtained the 24 god legacies, there was nothing else for him to do. What was more convenient was that most of the people were at the center of the secret realm. After the Pantheon throne had appeared, many treasures had appeared at the center of the secret realm. Even if others did not want to obtain the Pantheon throne, they would still come to the center of the secret realm for other benefits. As such, Zhao Fu only needed to search at the center of the secret realm. Boom! A 10 or so meter tall, white-furred monkey wielding an iron staff sent a young man flying with great force. The young man crashed to the ground with an unsightly expression. He felt that he could not defeat that monkey, so he did not think too much and got up from the ground, preparing to run. The white-furred monkey coldly laughed. "You still want to run? Hurry up and hand over that 1,000-year-old earth essence peach." The white-furred monkey was a monkey god. He had sensed the aura of the spirit peach, and had come here, but he had seen the young man picking it, so he had tried to snatch it. The young man was not weak at all, and the two of them intensely fought. In the end, the monkey god transformed into his beast god form and defeated the young man. Hearing the white-furred monkey's words, the young man said furiously, "This spirit peach belongs to me, don't even think about taking it away." The monkey god looked quite disdainful as he said, "If you don't hand it over, then don't blame me for killing you." Boom! A massive aura exploded out from the monkey god's body as he sent some of his power into the iron staff and vigorously swung it forwards, sending out a terrifying arc of light towards the young man. The young man was given a big fright and hurriedly used his saber to block before releasing an energy barrier. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the massive arc of light gave off terrifying power and slammed into the young man's defensive barrier, causing it to shatter. The young man was once again sent flying and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. The monkey god held his iron staff and gave off a powerful aura as he continued to rush at the young man. A trace of fear appeared on the young man's face as he hurriedly called out, "Stop! I can give you the spirit peach." The monkey deity coldly harumphed and stopped. None of the people in the secret realm were simple, and killing the young man would be a big problem. The monkey deity had just been trying to scare the young man a bit. The young man prepared to take out the celestial peach, but he could not defeat the other person. He could only hand over the spirit peach. There was no other choice. Suddenly, a massive aura descended, and the air seemed to freeze. The monkey god and the young man felt as if they had fallen into icy water, and their bodies uncontrollably trembled as they looked at the sky in terror. A person wearing a black cloak and a group. The two Zhao Fu and the others knew about it. Zhao Fu was divine realm. The two of them knew that Zhao Fu was a god-stealer, and Zhao Fu had robbed countless people of godly power in the past. He was a famous figure, so it was impossible for them not to know about him. Wu God, he Fu other divine, Fu Chen Zhou. Other hand. Gover God Zhou and other Chun of the other. Other hand. Zhou. What was even more shocking was that there was a 9-colored divine seal on the back of this person's hand. In other words, this god Caesar also had the right to become the master of all gods. The 9-colored god seal was not so easy to obtain, and only 4 people were required to obtain it. The first was the owner of the Emperor's Star, the most powerful person in the godly world, Tian Yu. The second was the owner of the Emperor's Star, Mielu. And the third was the demon god Emperor's imperial son, God Ker. Even though he did not have an Emperor's Star, he was a terrifying existence that was on par with the 7 Emperor's Stars. But who was this soul snatcher? Although he was quite powerful, he always liked to bully the weak. He was also despicable and shameless. So why did he also have a 9-colored divine seal? Apart from robbing ordinary deities for their divine power and taking possession of 2 peerless geniuses, he hadn't earned any points at all. The key was that the first 3 were all incomparably terrifying people, and their identities were also extremely terrifying. Everyone felt that it was only natural for them to have the 9-colored divine seal. However, now that the Soul Snatcher also had a 9-colored divine seal, everyone felt quite surprised. After all, his identity and power could not compare to the first 3 at all, and it was as if they were in heaven and earth. As the 2 of them continuously thought to themselves, Zhao Fu's gaze fell on the 2 of them. Because there were only a few hundred people, everyone knew who had stayed behind. As such, Zhao Fu asked, "Do you know if there is a rabbit god in the secret realm? Is there a rabbit god?" Hearing this strange question, the 2 of them felt quite startled and did not know why Zhao Fu was looking for the rabbit god. The young man shook his head, indicating that he did not know. The monkey god thought about it. His good friend's little sister was a rabbit god, and she had entered the secret realm with him. She was quite powerful and had stayed behind until now. He did not have much of a relationship with that friend, so he felt that there was no need to reveal information about his little sister. Moreover, this soul snatcher had a large group of beautiful women behind him, and he was a beast that specialized in bullying women. How could he push his good friend's little sister into a pit of fire? As such, the monkey god immediately said, "I don't know either." Zhao Fu looked at the monkey god, and the monkey god felt as if he was being stared at by a terrifying evil being. His hairs stood on end and he felt quite terrified. By now, Zhao Fu could tell that something was off. He stretched out a finger and tapped out, and a powerful wave of energy shot towards the monkey god. The monkey god felt quite startled and hurriedly blocked with his metal rod, releasing a powerful energy to defend. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the monkey god was sent flying. He crashed to the ground and coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his face became quite pale. The young man beside him felt quite terrified. The powerful monkey god could not even defeat a single finger from this person. This person's power was simply unimaginable. Zhao Fu coldly looked at the monkey god and said, "I'll give you another chance. Otherwise, I'll pull out your soul and look at the information myself." The monkey god looked quite terrified. He now understood how terrifying Zhao Fu was, so he immediately said, "I know where a rabbit god is." Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and said, "Take me there then." The monkey god agreed in fear. Following this, Zhao Fu left with the monkey god to find the rabbit god. The young man looked at Zhao Fu's departing figure and felt quite afraid. The monkey god had left with such a person, and the rabbit god had suffered the same fate. Chapter 2207. Zhao Fu did not have to follow the monkey god for too long before he found the rabbit goddess. The rabbit goddess was sitting on a patch of grass. The rabbit goddess had a petite figure and tender skin. She had a bit of baby fat, and her hair was tied into two little braids. There were two snow-white rabbit ears on her head, and she looked quite cute. Seeing the monkey god arrive, the rabbit goddess gave a happy smile and ran over to the monkey god as she called out, "Big brother monkey." The monkey god and the rabbit goddess's big brother were very close, so the rabbit goddess trusted the monkey god and did not put up her guard against him. The monkey god felt quite guilty, but he was also quite scared and did not dare to reveal anything. At that moment, the rabbit goddess looked at Zhao Fu and the others with her large eyes and asked curiously, "Big brother monkey, who are they?" Zhao Fu looked at the rabbit goddess and felt quite pleased. He gave a slight smile as he said, "I'm also your big brother now." The rabbit goddess looked quite surprised and said, "You're not. I don't even know you." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Come over here, we'll get to know each other soon." Even though the rabbit goddess was quite naive, she did not want to kill him. Seeing that Zhao Fu seemed to have ill intentions and seeing the monkey god's expression, she immediately became wary and started to retreat. Zhao Fu did not hide his intentions anymore. As he walked towards the rabbit goddess, he smiled as he said, "I'm sure you don't have to worry about being my woman. I won't mistreat you." The rabbit goddess hurriedly shook her head, "I don't want to. Also, you already have so many women. Why do you still want me to be your woman?" Zhao Fu continued to smile as he said, "But you don't have a choice. You can only be my woman." The rabbit goddess looked quite angry, and her body shined with light as she shot towards the ground, wanting to escape. She felt that Zhao Fu was a very terrifying person, and even the monkey god did not dare to resist him. Boom! Zhao Fu unleashed a wave of power and stepped forward, sending a wave of power into the ground, locking it in place. The rabbit goddess failed to escape and she looked quite scared. Zhao Fu continued onward with a smile on his face, and the rabbit goddess stumbled back in fear. Tears shimmered in her eyes, and she felt a little pitiful. Zhao Fu didn't waste any time. He pounced forward and hugged the rabbit goddess in his arms. The rabbit goddess also began to struggle vigorously. This scene was very much like a strange uncle bullying a lowly. Zhao Fu lowered his head and kissed the rabbit goddess on the lips as she struggled in his arms. The rabbit goddess' resistance quickly weakened, and she finally responded shyly to Zhao Fu. The monkey god felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. He felt that he had let down the rabbit goddess and her big brother. The rabbit goddess had trusted him so much, but he had brought bad people to rape him. After a while, Zhao Fu released the rabbit goddess and asked with a smile, "What's your name?" The rabbit goddess blushed and replied shyly, "Tu Meng, my name is Tu Meng." Zhao Fu looked at Tu Meng and smiled as he asked, "Is Tu Meng willing to be my woman?" The rabbit goddess looked quite shy and lightly nodded. Zhao Fu laughed and hugged Tu Meng as he said, "Then come with me and leave this place." Tu Meng lightly nodded. The monkey god looked quite confused. He had never thought that Tu Meng would be willing to become Zhao Fu's woman so easily and follow him. Zhao Fu hugged Tu Meng and walked towards the Xin Qianhua and the other women. Tu Meng came in front of the monkey god and smiled as she said, "Big brother monkey, please tell my big brother not to worry about me." The monkey god looked quite guilty as he said, "Are you really going to leave with that person? I've let you down this time." Tu Meng smiled as she said, I'm going to leave with that person. I don't know what kind of charm he has, but I feel like he has my everything. This is the first time I've felt like this, and I don't blame you." The monkey god sighed and did not say anything else. Tu Meng bid farewell to the monkey god one last time before leaving with Zhao Fu. No one knew where they were going. Now, Zhao Fu did not have much to do. Now that the quest to find the 12 zodiac goddesses had been completed, all he had to do was wait for the other quests to finish before entering the final battle. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that even though there was nothing else to do, he could not just stay in one place and waste time. There were many historical remnants and secret realms, so he could explore them. An hour or so later, they found a historical remnant. This historical remnant was a weapon god's historical remnant, and just as they entered, countless images of soldiers rushed out and flooded towards Zhao Fu and the others. Zhao Fu did not act and instead let the other women deal with them. In actuality, there were benefits to having many women. They did not have to do anything and could do anything well. Xin Qianhua and Yu Chan were peerless geniuses ranked 5th and 6th, and very few people were a match for them within the secret realm. There were many images of soldiers, but they were dealt with by the women in just a few moves, and the group continued onwards. In the end, they killed a few more waves of soldiers and came before a statue made of metal. This statue was dressed in armor and held a spear. It gave off an awe-inspiring aura and looked like a general. In actuality, weapon gods were all generals who became godly spirits and became weapon gods. They usually had many abilities related to soldiers. After arriving here, Xin Qianhua directly rushed over. The metal statue gave off a powerful aura as if it had come to life and started to attack Xin Qianhua. To ordinary people, the statue was incredibly powerful, but it was not a match for Xin Qianhua at all. The metal statue gave off a powerful aura as it rushed towards Xin Qianhua, but it was sent flying by Xin Qianhua's palm. There were a few deep palm prints on the metal statue's body. The metal statue was furious and wanted to continue attacking Xin Qianhua, but it was shattered by Xin Qianhua's palm and dropped a sparkling pearl. Xin Qianhua did not even look at it and threw it to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at it and found that this pearl was called a general god soul. Anyone who fused it into a person's body would be able to awaken a general star, and the strength of the general star would depend on the person fused into it. This thing was quite useful. Many people in Qin City had general stars. After all, there were so many people there, and if they fused into this pearl, They would be able to summon their general stars like those generals with general armaments. However, this thing seemed to be quite rare, and if there were many of them, Zhao Fu would be able to fuse all of the generals into the pearl. The scene of the sky being filled with general stars would be quite shocking. After putting away the pearl and collecting the things around them, Zhao Fu and the others left. They had wanted to continue searching for historical remnants, but they had never thought that they would encounter God Kerr. Chapter 2208. Everyone had never thought that Zhao Fu and God Kerr would meet like this, and they looked quite surprised as they started to discuss among themselves. God Kerr has the ability to devour tens of thousands of gods, and that God-stealer also has the ability to devour divine power. They both have the same ability. What will happen next? I'm so excited. That's right, I've been hoping that the two of them would meet sooner. Both of them have that terrifying ability to devour tens of thousands of gods, and it's possible that they have some sort of relationship. I feel like they're both ferocious tigers, but each mountain can only contain one. When they meet, they'll definitely have an intense battle, and someone might even die in the secret realm. I feel the same way. That ability to devour tens of thousands of gods is simply too terrifying, and only one person can have that ability. Even if they haven't said anything, they've definitely decided to kill each other. What are you guys talking about? That God-stealer only devours divine power, while God Kerr can directly devour godhood. Not only is there a huge difference in their strength, but what right does that God-stealer have to compare to God Kerr? That's right. Who does that God-stealer think he is? How could he compare to the powerful God Kerr? In front of the powerful God Kerr, he's just a little brother. I agree with that. You guys think too highly of that God-stealer. God Kerr has used its power to show how powerful it is, and it can rival an emperor's star. What about that God-stealer? Hearing you say that, I feel like I look down on that God-stealer. He only knows how to bully the weak and fear the strong. Even though he's a bit strong, he can't compare to God Kerr. That's right. Just then, those people actually compared him to God Kerr. I feel like they're insulting him. How could that God-stealer compare to the powerful God Kerr? I'm also quite angry. God Kerr's status, power, bloodline, and prestige are all not something that God-stealer can compare to. Those people comparing him to God Kerr is simply laughable. Ha ha ha, I don't think it's about how only one of them can survive, but how God Kerr killed that God-stealer. Ha ha ha, that's right, I don't even need to think about it to know that God Kerr will definitely win. That God-stealer just has a better chance of obtaining God's power and nothing else. Stop laughing, I want to laugh too. I don't think he will necessarily die, since he still has Yu Chan and Xin Qianhua by his side. He can hide behind the two women and escape in panic. Ha ha ha, you're still talking about others? You're making me laugh. But aren't you afraid that he'll hear you? He's an expert after all. Aren't you afraid that he'll settle the score with you? Laughing at each other like that. What's there to be afraid of? If we say it here, how could he know in the secret realm? It's not like we're stupid enough to say it to his face. Moreover, we're not wrong. Who does he think he is to compare to God Kerr? God Kerr is the strongest, and I hope that he is the ruler of all gods. That God-stealer should just scram. Otherwise, they wouldn't have survived. Countless experts looked at this scene with great interest, wondering what would happen next. However, from the looks of it, it was evident that God Kerr had a great advantage. What made everyone curious was why both of them had the ability to devour all gods. Was there a connection between them? It would be best if the two of them could explain how they had obtained devour God's power. It would be quite difficult to know, because no idiot would reveal such a terrifying ability. Speaking to there, everyone couldn't help but feel envious of the demon god emperor. How could they be so lucky to find such a shocking genius like God Kerr in the outer domains? Even if he did not obtain the ruler of all gods, He would definitely awaken a supreme emperor star in the future. After all, everyone could tell that after God Kerr defeated the beasts, there were signs of him awakening the god race's emperor star. When that time came, the demon god emperor would have a supreme emperor star. Facing the envious gazes, the demon god emperor and the others looked quite proud. This was their emperor, the person who would lead the demon god emperor to glory in the future. As for this battle, they would definitely stand on God Kerr's side, and they felt that God Kerr would be able to easily deal with that person. How could that person be a match for God Kerr? An elderly man wearing robes said seriously, "Your God Kerr just defeated the 10,000 god beasts palm and obtained a massive amount of fate. Now, such a great benefit has come knocking on its door. If God Kerr devours that person's divinity, its power will become even more terrifying, and it will have a great chance of becoming the ruler of all gods." Another big man laughed as he said, "That person's divinity has fused with countless traces of divine power, and adding on the fact that it has a divine bloodline, it will be incredibly useful to God Kerr. If it can really devour that person's divinity, God Kerr's 10,000 god power might go through a qualitative change." A beautiful middle-aged woman said, "Devouring that person's divinity indeed has great benefits, but that person's identity is not ordinary. If it kills him, it will be very troublesome." The young man sitting next to her laughed as he said, "This is very troublesome, but if it can bring great benefits to God Kerr, I think it's worth the risk. The demon god emperor has existed for so many years, and his foundation is incredibly powerful. A saint-class faction wouldn't risk its life for a holy son." Another middle-aged man said, "I feel that that boy is a bit special, and if we kill him, there might be unimaginable problems. However, this is not something that we can decide right now. It all depends on God Kerr and the Demon God Emperor's decision." The Demon God Emperor was a well-built middle-aged man, and he gave off a powerful might as he said, "No matter what Kerr does, the Demon God Emperor will fully support him. He is the future of the Demon God Emperor." Hearing this, everyone felt quite shocked. This was going all out to support God Kerr. Wasn't this placing too much importance on God Kerr? They were placing an entire faction on God Kerr. However, after thinking about it, God Kerr's performance in just 10 years was already so shocking, and it was very likely that he had awakened the god race's supreme emperor star. Such a person's potential was even greater than Tian Yu's, and his future was simply unimaginable. Placing an entire faction on God Kerr's shoulders was understandable. Perhaps the entire faction would become hundreds of times stronger because of him, and it might even become a saint-class faction. There were many such things, and there was no need to doubt them. Chapter 2209. Now that the Demon God Emperor had said this, it was up to Kerr to decide what to do. Devouring that godhood would bring massive benefits, and most people would choose to devour it. Everyone's gazes fell on God Kerr's body. God Kerr had just recovered all of its power and had been planning to challenge the owner of the Emperor Star, but it had never thought that it would meet that person. He looked the same as he had 10 years ago, and even though he was wearing a cloak, God Kerr immediately recognized him. It was the person who had summoned its clone and killed it. At the same time, that person had given it a massive opportunity, and it had a deep impression of him. Seeing Zhao Fu, God Kerr's expression was one of shock. It was sure that Zhao Fu was not in the secret realm, and yet he had appeared in front of it. Following this, it instinctively felt a wave of fear, and it hurriedly retreated a few steps, maintaining some distance from Zhao Fu. Over the past 10 years, what it had been worried about the most was Zhao Fu finding him. Now that it had really happened, God Kerr had reacted like this. God Kerr's reaction to Zhao Fu caused countless people to stare in shock, and massive waves crashed in their hearts. None of them had thought that things would turn out like this, and even the calm experts were the same. My heavens! Why would such a powerful god Kerr become so panicked and afraid after meeting that person? Am I seeing things? Am I seeing things? Or am I hallucinating? I feel like there's something wrong with my eyes as well. Is God Kerr still the same God Kerr from before? How could it be like this? He didn't even act like this when facing the owner of the Emperor's Star. That's right. Kerr didn't even panic when facing the owner of the Emperor's Star, so why is he panicking and afraid when facing this person? Just who is that person? I'm so shocked that I can't even speak. Me too. My mind is completely blank, and I don't know what to say. This was simply too unexpected, and it felt like something impossible. Now, it seems that God Kerr and the God-stealer are not unrelated. Instead, they are very closely related. I just said why both of them have the terrifying ability to devour divine power. Perhaps they are related. Do you believe me now? We were wrong, but we never imagined that things would turn out like this. One is an imperial prince of the demon god emperor, and the other is a mysterious person. They don't seem to have any connection at all. If it weren't for the fact that they both have the ability to swallow up divine power, who would have thought that they were related? Yes, we didn't expect the two of them to be related. Now I'm curious what their relationship is. God damn it. Who said that that person ran away in fear after seeing God Kerr and hid behind a woman? Now open your dog eyes and see clearly that the truth is the complete opposite of what you think. You can't blame us for that. You think God Kerr isn't powerful? He's definitely comparable to an Emperor's Star. Who knew he would do this? Countless ordinary people fell into a state of shock as they stared at the scene in front of them. The other experts were also in an uproar as they spoke. This time, I admit that I was wrong and underestimated that boy. He's far more terrifying than we thought, and I'm curious just what their relationship is. Just who is that boy? I think it has a lot to do with the ability to devour divine power. The only thing they have in common is that, but as for what exactly happened, I can't guess. That's right. Their relationship isn't ordinary, and there might be a great enmity between them. Moreover, God Kerr knows that person's identity and power, which is why it's so afraid and panicked. This is far too unexpected. Just then, we were saying that God Kerr had killed that person and devoured his divinity, but things developed completely differently. That boy is simply too terrifying. That person is hiding too much information, and none of it is a small matter. I really want someone to personally tell me everything about that person. I feel like there's going to be a good show soon. Also, look at the demon god emperor's people. Their expressions are all quite unsightly. Haha, don't be so sarcastic. No one thought that things would develop like this, and they didn't make the wrong choice. Right now, the demon god emperor's people's expressions were quite unsightly. The legatee that they had fully supported and trusted had acted like this, and they had never thought that things would turn out like this. Before, they had thought that God Kerr would be able to easily deal with that person and devour his divinity to become much stronger. Now, they no longer had any confidence that God Kerr would be able to defeat that person. At the same time, they couldn't understand what was going on between God Kerr and that person. Now, everyone's gazes were on those two people, anxiously waiting for the situation to develop. By now, God Kerr had come back to its senses and returned to its domineering appearance. With its current power, it had no reason to fear Zhao Fu. Seeing that God Kerr had returned to its previous appearance, the demon god emperor felt more confident. If God Kerr was still as fearful and panicky as before, it would lose without even fighting. Seeing the demon god emperor's reaction, the others also stopped underestimating him. Now it was not certain who would win. God Kerr looked at Zhao Fu and said in a provocative tone, "I haven't seen you for 10 years, but you haven't changed at all. Wearing a cloak and hiding your identity and information, you're like a turtle hiding in its shell." Back then, God Kerr had been incredibly furious and wanted to kill Zhao Fu before devouring Zhao Fu. Back then, it had eaten one of Zhao Fu's arms, and it still remembered how delicious it was. There was no way to resolve the enmity between them, and its hatred and anger towards Zhao Fu could not be erased. As such, God Kerr naturally would not hold back. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "It's been 10 years, but you've been doing quite well with my fate and power. Now that you've become the demon god emperor's legatee, would you be where you are today without me? Hurry up and thank your benefactor." Hearing this, everyone once again fell into a state of shock. They had never thought that things would be like this. Before, everyone had thought that God Kerr's devouring ability was far more powerful than Zhao Fu's, but now they heard Zhao Fu say that God Kerr's power was borrowed from him. Not only did it have power, but it also had fate. If it wasn't for the fact that God Kerr had revealed a terrified expression when it had met Zhao Fu, no one would have believed this. How could God Kerr's power and fate be borrowed from someone else? Chapter 22:10. Thinking about how God Kerr's power rivaled that of a person with an Emperor star, and his fate was at the half-saint level, how could he have borrowed it from someone else? How could that person give it such monstrous power and fate? Who would believe such a thing? Only an idiot would believe such a thing. However, even though God Kerr had such an expression on its face, everyone still looked at it suspiciously. After all, this matter was simply too shocking. God Kerr coldly laughed. "Borrow? Do you think you want to give me such things? Back then, you killed my clone and fused with my divinity. Now that you have a divinity and this kind of power, you should be thanking me." Hearing this, everyone burst into an uproar. My heavens! This is actually true. God Kerr didn't refute this. Its devouring power and massive half-saint fate all came from that person. This is simply too terrifying. That's right. I was just thinking that this was too fake. How could such a monstrous power and half-saint level fate be borrowed from someone else? Now that it's proven that it's someone else's power, I don't even know what to say. Hearing this, my heart is still thumping wildly. This news is simply too shocking, and it will probably shake the entire godly world. No one would have thought that God Kerr, who has such a prestigious status and is feared by countless people, would be borrowing someone else's power. Haha, this is simply too interesting. Didn't someone say that that person couldn't compare to God Kerr? Now, God Kerr's power and fate all come from that person. Are you surprised? Now that we know what their relationship is, it seems that there is indeed a great enmity between them. Now, only one of them will live. That's right, from the way they speak, it seems that they are enemies, and both want to kill the other. I feel that the following battle will be a battle of life and death. Then who do you think will win between the two of them? I feel that that person will win. He's simply too terrifying. He borrowed someone else's fate and power to become a supreme emperor. That's hard to say. From the way things are going, God Kerr is stealing much more than that person. I feel that even though God Kerr's power and fate came from that place, God Kerr has already devoured that person, so it should be much stronger than him. I feel the same way. In terms of aura and power, God Kerr is much stronger than that person. Moreover, apart from the fear and panic from before, God Kerr isn't afraid of that person at all and is even provoking him. This is proof of his strength. As for who won and who lost, we'll only know after their battle. Right now, I'm more curious about what happened between them 10 years ago. Yeah, I'm also curious about what happened between them. From what they said, it doesn't seem simple at all. Also, the source of the devouring divine power came from that person. Why does that person have the ability to devour divine power? This kind of ability has never appeared before, nor have I ever heard of it. I think it's an ability that that person created, which is why only he and God Kerr have it. Then this person is really too terrifying. He can actually create such a terrifying power. What is his identity? Can anyone tell me? Hearing this, countless experts felt incredibly shocked. They had always been envious of the demon god emperor for being able to find such a shocking genius like God Kerr. Now, it seemed that God Kerr was a fake, and that terrifying power and fate belonged to someone else. Now, they could roughly guess what had happened. It was very likely that God Kerr's clone had been killed by that person and had obtained a trace of divinity. This was because divinity was the godly spirit's most important thing. After that person had fused with divinity, their soul had been bound to God Kerr's soul, and God Kerr had been able to obtain massive amounts of power and fate from that person. However, that person was simply too terrifying. A small demon godly spirit had relied on the power it had obtained to become such a terrifying existence. Now they had found the source of the devouring divine power, but they still did not know how Zhao Fu had been able to create such a power. If that person did not say anything, it was likely that no one would ever be able to find out. In actuality, this power was not something that Zhao Fu had created but something that had automatically formed. In other words, Zhao Fu had not done anything for it to appear on its own. Back then, after Zhao Fu had fused with Zhao Fu's divinity, that trace of divinity had fused with Zhao Fu's soul. It had been affected by a massive amount of fate, and it had also been affected by the god-killing power and King's Star. This had caused the King Crepe Myrtle Star and the Chaos Disaster Star to fuse together, forming the terrifying Chaos Imperial Star that controlled natural disasters, wars, life and death, fortune and misfortune, and fate. Following this, that trace of divinity had absorbed many different powers and become a divinity. After being affected by countless other powers, it had obtained the power of 10,000 gods. The demon god emperor looked quite confused. They had not asked too much about why God Kerr had such terrifying fate and power, but they had never thought that it would be like this. However, they did not plan to give up on God Kerr. Even though its fate and power belonged to someone else, the demon god emperor had nurtured it for 10 years, and God Kerr's performance had never disappointed them. Now, not only did its strength rival that of an emperor star, but it could also awaken the god race's supreme emperor star. Who would give up on it? If God Kerr killed that person and fused with all of that person's power, God Kerr's potential would be dozens of times greater than before. The experts from all sides also understood that one of them would definitely die in the next battle. If God Kerr died, the demon god emperor would take a massive blow. This was not only because they had nurtured God Kerr for 10 years, but also because God Kerr's performance was simply too shocking. If God Kerr won, its potential and fate would be dozens of times greater than before, and it could become the #1 expert in the godly world. Even Tian Yu might not be able to compare to it. Now, everyone's eyes were on the two of them, waiting to see how the situation would develop. Hearing God Kerr's words, Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "Indeed, I didn't lend it to you, and I didn't want to give it to you. You stole my power and fate, and don't think that trace of divinity is very important to me. It's just one of my many powers." Chapter 22:11. I'm going to take back what belongs to me and fuse your divinity into my body. Today you must die. God Kerr said arrogantly, "With my current strength, do you think I'm afraid of you? If you have the ability, take back what belongs to you, and I'm going to take back what belongs to me. I'll have a good taste of your flesh and blood, and if I devour you, I'll become the most terrifying existence in the godly world." Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he took out a black and blood-red sword that gave off an ancient aura. "Let's see just how much stronger you've become over the past 10 years. When Zhao Fu took out that sword, everyone stared at it in shock, causing another uproar. Holy crap! Wasn't that the peerlessly vicious sword that had caused such a huge commotion? How did it end up in that person's hands? Of course. He's that peerlessly vicious sword's owner. Who would have thought that he had hidden himself so deeply? Now there's going to be a good show. That person's power is unimaginably terrifying, or else he wouldn't be able to wield such a peerlessly vicious sword. That's right, that's right. When that peerlessly vicious sword appeared, the heavens and earth seemed to change, and the clouds swirled. Spirit chi became chaotic, and it gave off a world-destroying might. I still remember it clearly. It's definitely a supreme weapon. Ever since that peerlessly vicious sword appeared, I've been paying attention to it, but there was no news of it. It was as if it had disappeared, and the person who wielded that peerlessly vicious sword also disappeared. Now that he has finally appeared, I never thought that it would be him. The more this person thinks about it, the more afraid he becomes. Just how many terrifying things is he hiding? As expected, in the final stages of the competition, all of the mysteries will be revealed. When that time comes, we'll definitely know his identity. I'm on that person's side. With that peerlessly vicious sword in his hands, he'll be able to kill gods and Buddhas. Who dares to stop him? The experts all looked quite surprised. They all cared about that peerlessly vicious sword, but they had never thought that it would be in Zhao Fu's hands. That person had simply hidden himself too deeply, and only now was he willing to reveal his identity. The demon god emperor's people's expressions fell. They understood how terrifying that peerlessly vicious sword was, and they felt a wave of pressure. Facing such a terrifying person, could God Kerr still win? God Kerr's power could rival that of an emperor's star, and Zhao Fu understood how terrifying it was, so he had used the emperor-killing sword. Moreover, Zhao Fu had not used the emperor-killing sword this entire time in order to avoid unnecessary trouble. Now that the competition had reached its final stages, there was no need to hide anymore. After speaking to God Kerr, Zhao Fu turned to Xin Qianhua and the other women and said, "Stay away." After saying to God Kerr, Zhao Fu turned and said, "Xin to God." Hearing Zhao Fu's words, God Kerr took out its pitchfork and gave a confident smile as it said, "My power far surpasses your imagination, and I'll definitely be able to kill you. To Chen, I God, I Chen, I to God to I Chen, to God." Boom! A massive aura exploded out from Zhao Fu's body as a black aura flame appeared around him. Wild gales continuously blew out, and the ground started to crack. Zhao Fu had used his full power right from the start. Bringing with him this massive power, Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword and rushed towards God Kerr. Boom! God Kerr did not dare to be careless, and it also exploded out with all of its power. Its body gave off an intense demonic light, and a shocking demonic might spread out, causing the ground to continuously crack. By now, Zhao Fu had arrived in front of it, and his sword gave off a massive black sword light that seemed to be able to split apart mountains as it slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr sent some of its power into the pitchfork, causing it to give off boundless demonic light. God Kerr vigorously swung, and a massive black arc of light containing terrifying power slashed towards Zhao Fu. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the two attacks collided, and a black shock wave rippled out. The ground in the surrounding 1,000 meters collapsed, and black light shot everywhere, blocking everyone's vision. Shing! A massive sword hum sounded out as the black light dissipated. Everyone saw Zhao Fu come in front of God Kerr and swing his sword, sending out a black sword light as he slashed towards God Kerr. God Kerr flapped its wings and flew into the sky, dodging Zhao Fu's sword strike. It then stretched out a hand, causing countless traces of demonic chi to flow out, forming a massive demonic hand that gave off shocking power as it grabbed towards Zhao Fu, seeming as if it could not be stopped. Looking at the incoming demonic hand, Zhao Fu sent some of his power into his sword and slashed out, slashing out a massive sword arc that cut the demonic hand in half, causing it to turn into demonic chi and dissipate. Following this, Zhao Fu kicked off the ground and leapt into the sky, his sword giving off a powerful sword light as he continued to slash towards God Kerr. God Kerr did not feel any fear, and it looked incredibly savage as it raised its pitchfork and slashed towards Zhao Fu. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out as the pitchfork and sword collided, causing countless sparks to fly out as a massive gale blew out. God Ker's expression became savage, and its body gave off an even more intense light as it sent a powerful wave of power into the pitchfork and slammed it down, knocking Zhao Fu back to the ground. Zhao Fu had blocked most of the power and was able to stably land on the ground. He was not injured at all, and he looked at God Ker in the sky as the golden pupil in his left eye started to spin, causing a formless energy to spread out. Shing, 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 black chains shot out from the ground, giving off immense power as they quickly shot towards God Ker. God Ker suddenly flapped its 3 pairs of wings and disappeared, dodging the countless chains and appearing in front of Zhao Fu. Its pitchfork gave off immense power as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he dodged to the side, dodging God Ker's attack and appearing next to it. His sword gave off immense power as he slashed towards God Ker. God Ker hurriedly used its pitchfork to block, but its body was sent flying dozens of meters away. However, it was not injured. Boom! In that moment, an even greater aura flame erupted around Zhao Fu's body, forming a savage black dragon. It gave a massive roar and gave off a massive aura as it ferociously charged at God Ker. God Ker sent a wave of power into its pitchfork, causing it to give off boundless demonic light as a gigantic pitchfork image appeared. Bang! God Ker vigorously stabbed out, and the massive pitchfork image gave off terrifying power as it stabbed out, causing the terrifying black dragon to explode. A massive explosion sounded out as a large crater was smashed open in the ground, and countless traces of black aura spread out. Suddenly, Zhao Fu appeared in front of it, and his sword gave off a powerful sword light as it slashed towards God Ker. God Ker hurriedly unleashed a defensive barrier to block. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the defensive barrier shattered, and God Ker was once again sent flying. It crashed into a large tree, breaking it in half and causing a massive sound to ring out. Blood leaked out of God Ker's mouth, and it crawled up from the ground with a savage look on its face. A massive wave of power spread out as a massive demonic face appeared behind it. It was thousands of meters wide and looked quite terrifying, and it gave off a massive aura. Boom! The demonic face opened its mouth and gave off a massive aura as it leapt towards Zhao Fu. Its mouth seemed to be able to devour a mountain. Zhao Fu was unable to dodge such a massive attack, and he raised his sword and sent a massive wave of power into it. The sword gave off an intense sword light that illuminated the surroundings, and a shocking sword aura spread out. Shing! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed down with his sword, sending out a massive black sword light that seemed to be able to cleave apart everything as it slashed towards the gigantic demon. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the demonic face was slashed apart, resulting in a massive explosion. A terrifying shockwave blasted out, causing the ground to crack as a massive gale blew out. Swish! At that moment, a pitchfork containing terrifying force shot towards Zhao Fu incredibly quickly. Shing! The sound of metal clashing could be heard as sparks flew everywhere. Zhao Fu sent a wave of power into his sword and vigorously slashed out, sending the pitchfork flying. God Ker's body suddenly appeared beside Zhao Fu, and it punched towards Zhao Fu with immense power, bringing with it a terrifying wind. Zhao Fu immediately released a black barrier with dragon inscriptions, which gave off a faint light and seemed quite sturdy. Bang! That powerful punch shattered the barrier, causing countless shards to fly everywhere as a massive explosion sounded out, and the fist continued towards Zhao Fu. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu reacted, and his sword gave off a sharp sword light as he slashed towards God Ker. God Ker flapped its wings and quickly retreated, disappearing from where it was. Boom! A massive wave of demonic chi exploded out as God Ker appeared in the sky. The demonic chi formed a monster with the head of a demon and the body of a cow, and God Kerr brought this monster towards Zhao Fu. It was incredibly fast, and it arrived in front of Zhao Fu and vigorously punched out. The monster gave off shocking power as it charged towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu gave off a massive aura as he blocked with his sword. Bang! A massive sound rang out as Zhao Fu was sent flying by the monster, and a trace of blood leaked out of his mouth. God Kerr gave a savage smile and grabbed at the air, causing the pitchfork to fly into its hand. Holding the pitchfork, God Kerr continued to rush towards Zhao Fu. Chapter 22:12. Boom! Facing the incoming God Kerr, a massive wave of ghostly chi flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, turning into countless ghosts that howled and gave off a shocking aura as they charged at God Kerr. God Kerr gripped its pitchfork and sent a massive wave of power into it. It vigorously swung, and a massive arc of light containing enough power to slash apart slashed forwards. Bang! 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 The flood-like wave of ghosts was slashed apart by the massive arc of light, turning into countless traces of ghostly chi and giving off massive sounds. Shing! At that moment, Zhao Fu raised his sword and vigorously slashed out. A massive sword hum sounded out as a terrifying sword light containing destructive power slashed forwards, bringing with it a sharp sword wind. God Kerr sent a massive wave of power into its pitchfork and stabbed forwards, causing a massive black ray of light to shoot forwards with shocking power. Bang! An explosion sounded out as the two rays of power collided, resulting in a massive explosion. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, causing the ground to crack and countless rays of black light to shoot out. Swish! God Kerr shot out from the black light like a ray of light and arrived in front of Zhao Fu. Its pitchfork gave off shocking power as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu, piercing through Zhao Fu's body like a bolt of lightning. This caused God Kerr to feel quite startled. Even though it felt that it had hit Zhao Fu, it didn't believe that Zhao Fu would die so easily. As expected, it immediately sensed a wave of danger, and Zhao Fu appeared by its side, slashing towards it with immense power. Zhao Fu's left eye gave off a glass-like light. God Kerr hurriedly exploded out with power, and a massive demonic face once again appeared in front of it, opening its mouth and devouring Zhao Fu. This face was a demonic face of nothingness. As long as one was swallowed by it, their body would be digested in nothingness. However, even though the demonic face had devoured Zhao Fu, God Kerr did not relax at all, and it looked around warily. It didn't believe that Zhao Fu would be so easy to deal with. But after waiting for a while, Zhao Fu's body did not appear. God Kerr thought about it and sent a powerful wave of energy into the pitchfork before stabbing it into the ground. A powerful wave of demonic chi flowed into the ground as a black magic formation appeared, and a black barrier of light spread out, covering the surrounding 10,000 meters. This was his emperor's domain, and he did not believe that Zhao Fu would be able to hide. Clang! At that moment, Zhao Fu appeared in front of God Kerr and slashed towards it. God Kerr used his pitchfork to blocking Zhao Fu's sword. Looking at Zhao Fu's glassy eyes, God Kerr realized something and coldly laughed, saying, "Your illusions are useless against me now." Zhao Fu's face was cold as he shouted, "Sword Master!" Boom! A massive wave of sword chi exploded out from the sword, sending God Kerr flying. Clang! Zhao Fu raised the sword in his hand, and a sword light shot into the sky. Heaven and earth power continuously gathered, forming a black sword formation that gave off an aura of annihilation. God Kerr's expression fell as it felt an intense sense of danger. Boom! 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 The black sword formation spun as terrifying sword lights containing destructive power descended from the sky. They were incredibly fast and seemed unstoppable. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as countless black sword lights descended. The ground, trees, mountains, and everything else were destroyed. The countless black sword lights covered one's vision and a massive sword chi spread out. After everything settled, there was a massive crater that was thousands of meters wide, and there were traces of sword chi coming out of the crater, causing everyone to feel an incredibly cold feeling. God Ker's figure could not be seen within the crater. This attack was incredibly terrifying, but no one believed that God Ker would lose just like that, and they all stared at the crater. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a black ray of light shot into the sky from the ground. A figure appeared, giving off an incredibly terrifying aura. Countless rays of black light shined out from his body, covering the entire world, making it seem as if the world had darkened. A terrifying power flowed out from God Ker's body. This power seemed to be formed from countless traces of divine power, and it was incredibly terrifying. It was as if the world could not withstand it, and the ground continuously collapsed. Now, God Ker had become incredibly powerful, and it had 3 pairs of wings on its back. One had black scales and the other had black feathers, and its eyes had become 3 black jade heads. There was also a black wheel of light on his back that had runes on it. It was incredibly profound and mysterious, and it gave off a terrifying divine might. Zhao Fu held his sword as he looked at God Ker in the sky, and his expression was serious as he said, "You've actually raised 10,000 godly power to such a terrifying level. You've been working quite hard these past few years." God Ker stood in the sky and looked at Zhao Fu as it said, "Even though this power came from you, after 10 years of continuous development, this 10,000 godly power has long since become different from yours. Today I will use it to kill you." Zhao Fu coldly laughed, "You're too confident." God Ker did not say anything else and stabbed out with its pitchfork, causing a massive black ray of light to shoot towards Zhao Fu with shocking power, resulting in a massive explosion. Shing! Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the Emperor Killing Sword, causing it to give off boundless sword chi. He vigorously slashed out, and a sharp sword light slashed the black ray of light in half, causing it to turn into motes of light and disappear. Boom! A powerful aura exploded out as the wheel of light behind God Ker became dozens of times bigger. Divine runes lit up and slowly spun, and countless rays of black light containing terrifying power shot towards Zhao Fu like a rain of light. Bang! 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 As the black beams of light landed on the ground, they blasted open large holes in the ground. Countless rays of light shot out in all directions, causing rocks to fly everywhere. A shocking shockwave spread out, creating a terrifying scene. Countless clouds of dust obscured one's vision. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, and a seemingly corporeal killing intent surged out, forming a massive storm that blew away all the dust that blocked his vision. A terrifying figure appeared in front of everyone. His eyes gave off a dense blood-red light, and he wore a black cloak and held an ancient sword. His body gave off traces of black blood-red chi, and he gave off a berserk killing intent and destructive sword intent. Even the space around him could not withstand it and continuously twisted. Chapter 22:13. Everyone looked at that person in shock, and they understood that that person had used the power of a peerlessly ferocious sword. That cold sword intent and berserk sword intent caused everyone to feel a sense of fear. That sword could slaughter everything. God Ker's expression became serious, and it pointed its pitchfork at Zhao Fu. The surrounding heaven and earth power flowed into that pitchfork, causing a shocking aura to spread out. Boom! God Ker pointed with his pitchfork, and the pitchfork shot out a massive black ray of light, bringing with it a world-destroying power as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rays of black light shot out. The ground continuously trembled, and a shocking shock wave spread out, causing countless trees to sway. After everything calmed down, a 10,000-meter wide crater appeared in the ground. The person standing at the center of the crater gave off a terrifying blood-red aura. Shockingly, he was not injured at all, and he looked like a peerless demon. Everyone looked quite shocked, not knowing what method Zhao Fu had used to block that terrifying attack. God Kerr also looked quite shocked. It seemed that it had underestimated Zhao Fu's power. At that moment, Zhao Fu's blood-red eyes looked at God Kerr in the sky. Zhao Fu slashed out, and a massive black and blood-red sword light containing extremely sharp power slashed towards the sky. It was incredibly fast and flashed by. God Kerr felt quite startled, and it immediately used its pitchfork to block. Runes lit up on its pitchfork, giving off a boundless divine might. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the blood-red sword light quickly slashed against the pitchfork. The terrifying power caused the pitchfork to shatter, and a shocking shock wave spread out. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu stomped off the ground, causing the 100 meters around him to collapse. Zhao Fu's body turned into a black and blood-red ray of light as he shot towards God Kerr. God Kerr's expression was serious, and it sent a massive wave of power into its pitchfork, causing it to give off an intense black light. It vigorously swung out, and a terrifying arc of light containing shocking power slashed towards Zhao Fu. Shing! A sword hum sounded out as Zhao Fu swung his sword, causing a sharp sword arc to slash out, destroying the arc of light, and he continued to rush towards God Kerr. God Kerr immediately sent a wave of power into its pitchfork, causing a massive image of a pitchfork to appear, giving off a massive might. Boom! God Kerr stabbed out with its pitchfork, and the massive image of the pitchfork gave off a power that seemed to be able to pierce through the world as it stabbed towards Zhao Fu, giving off a massive sound and a powerful gale. Before the image of the pitchfork could reach Zhao Fu, a massive gust of wind blew towards Zhao Fu's body, causing his cloak to flutter wildly. Zhao Fu sent some of his power into the Emperor Killing Sword, and a blood-red aura flame appeared on the sword on the ground as a terrifying killing intent and sword intent flowed out. Boom! Just as the trident phantom was about to stab Zhao Fu slashed out with his sword. A blood-red light flashed, and the world began to collapse. Bang! The two waves of energy collided, resulting in a massive explosion. The pitchfork image was slashed apart, and God Kerr's body was sent flying back, blood leaking out of its mouth. God Kerr looked furious and exploded out with a massive wave of power. A 10,000-meter tall figure appeared behind him. This was what God Kerr had discovered. Boom! God Kerr controlled its pitchfork and swung it towards Zhao Fu with unstoppable power. Bang! A massive figure sounded out as Zhao Fu's body gave off countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi, giving off terrifying sword energy as he blocked the pitchfork with immense power. God Kerr looked furious as it raised its pitchfork. Countless rays of black light shot out from the pitchfork, illuminating the surroundings and forming a massive sword of light that continuously gave off a massive sword wind. Boom! The massive god statue gripped the black sword of light with both hands and slashed out with massive sword energy. A massive black sword light slashed out like a bolt of lightning, seeming to be able to split the heavens and earth apart. Bang! The sword light slammed into Zhao Fu's body incredibly quickly, and Zhao Fu's body was blasted back by the massive sword energy. His body was like a meteor as he heavily smashed into the ground, creating a crater that was dozens of meters wide. God Kerr's expression became savage as it sent more power into the massive black sword of light, causing it to give off even more shocking power. Boom! God Kerr once again slashed out, and a massive black sword light containing destructive power slashed towards Zhao Fu. It was incredibly fast, and it seemed as if nothing could stop it. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu was once again sent flying. The ground trembled and countless rocks flew everywhere as a massive sword gash appeared. It was 10,000 meters long and hundreds of meters wide. Zhao Fu crashed to the ground and coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and his body gave off countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi. God Kerr gave a savage smile and controlled the god's statue to walk towards Zhao Fu. A massive wave of power once again entered the black sword of light, causing it to give off boundless light. A destructive power spread out, causing space to collapse. Zhao Fu half squatted on the ground and looked at God Kerr with his blood-red eyes, a trace of anger on his face. A terrifying killing intent and sword intent flowed out of Zhao Fu's body, and it was as if the gates of hell were slowly opening. The sun and moon dimmed as the heavens and earth started to tremble. Clang, 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 clang. Massive amounts of black and blood-red sword chi containing terrifying power flowed out of Zhao Fu's body and continuously shot out. Each strand gave off berserk killing intent and destructive sword intent as they madly slashed towards the heavens and earth. The ground, air, rocks, grass, and trees were all slashed apart by the strands of sword chi. Countless strands of black and red sword chi flowed out, seeming to be able to destroy the heavens and earth. They instantly spread out, seeming to be unstoppable as they devoured the entire world. Massive sounds continuously sounded out as destructive shock waves continuously flowed out, causing the heavens and earth to seem as if they were on the verge of collapse. At that moment Tianyu, Mielu, and the others all looked incredibly shocked. This power was simply too terrifying. Everyone else felt as if they had fallen into a bottomless abyss, and boundless darkness swept over them. Their hearts were filled with terror, and their bodies started to tremble. They did not know which two people were fighting, but such terrifying shock waves had exploded out. They could not help but feel curious, and they once again hurried over. These shock waves seemed to only be released by someone who had an Emperor star. Chapter 22:14. Everyone outside the secret realm looked incredibly shocked. This power seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and earth, and it far surpassed anything they had imagined. Even the experts looked incredibly shocked, as expected from a peerless sword forged from celestial slaying sword intent. After everything settled, a 100,000-meter wide crater had appeared in the ground. There were sword gashes everywhere, and traces of black and blood-red sword chi rose up, causing people to feel despair. The ground around the crater had been shattered, and countless trees had been destroyed. Rubble was everywhere, and it looked like the aftermath of a disaster. At the center of the crater, Zhao Fu stood there, while God Kerr lay there covered with blood. The instant that the countless rays of sword chi had exploded out, God Kerr had chosen to defend with all of its strength. However, it was unable to defend against the terrifying sword chi, and its massive image had been shattered by the countless rays of sword chi, causing it to be heavily injured. Zhao Fu held the Emperor killing sword and walked towards God Kerr. God Kerr crawled up from the ground with a look of hatred on its face. Now, it clearly understood just how terrifying Zhao Fu was, and its fear and worry over the past few years had not been wrong. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as God Kerr unleashed all of its divinity's power. It no longer held anything back, and a terrifying divine power fused together exploded out. God Kerr gave off countless rays of black light, which turned into a ray of light that shot into the sky, forming a massive pillar of black light. God Kerr's body automatically flew into the sky, giving off a sovereign's might. It originally had 3 pairs of wings, but now another 3 pairs grew out. 3 more black rings appeared from the black ring behind it, and they appeared on its left, right, and back. The one at the back was 2 meters wide, while the 2 on the left and right were only 1 meter wide. In the air, God Kerr coldly looked at Zhao Fu and stretched out a hand. The ring beside it flew in front of its hand and quickly spun, giving off a shocking power. Boom! God Kerr stretched out its hand and pressed down, causing the wheel of light to shoot out countless rays of black light that formed a massive arm. This massive arm was formed from black light, and there were God seals within it, giving off a terrifying aura of 10,000 godly power. The instant that the arm appeared, it gave off immense power as it slammed towards Zhao Fu, bringing with it a massive gale. Clang! Zhao Fu used his sword to block in front of him, his body releasing countless black and blood-colored sword qi as a defense. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the massive arm slammed into the sword. The air seemed to explode as a massive gale spread out, causing Zhao Fu's body to take a step back. This arm was the myriad god hand, and the power it possessed was far greater than what Zhao Fu had imagined. Ker's hand put away the 10,000 gods' hand and gave off a terrifying wave of 10,000 gods' power as it continued to blast towards Zhao Fu, its power even more terrifying than before. The strong wind it brought was getting fiercer and fiercer. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and sent some power into the emperor-killing sword. He vigorously slashed out and a blood-red crescent slashed out, slashing apart the 10,000 god hand, causing it to turn into countless motes of black light and dissipate. Boom! At that moment, God Ker stretched out its other hand, and the other ball of light flew in front of it. It quickly spun, and a black ray of light containing shocking power shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu dodged to the side, his body leaving behind a string of afterimages as he avoided this ray of light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as countless rays of black light blasted out, blasting open a 1,000-meter wide crater in the ground. Shing! A sword hum sounded out as Zhao Fu's body suddenly appeared beside God Ker, and his sword gave off sharp power as he slashed towards God Ker. Bang! A wheel of light automatically flew to God Ker's side and gave off a powerful wave of 10,000 gods' power, blocking Zhao Fu's sword strike and causing a massive gale to spread out. God Ker coldly looked at Zhao Fu as the wheel of light on its back started to spin, giving off a terrifying power. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and hurriedly retreated. Boom! 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 The ball of light shot out rays of black light towards Zhao Fu with terrifying power and speed. Countless rays of black and blood-red sword qi covered Zhao Fu's body, but as the rays of black and blood-red sword qi slammed into them, massive shockwaves blasted Zhao Fu back to the ground. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu exploded out with all of the Emperor-killing sword's power, and his body gave off boundless black and blood-red light. 3-meter-long swords of light appeared around Zhao Fu's body, all of them giving off a cold sword intent and berserk killing intent. There were over 10,000 of them, and they gave off a terrifying sword aura, making it seem as if the sky was dyed red. Boom! 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 Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out with his sword, and the countless swords of light shot towards God Ker in the sky. The scene of 10,000 swords shooting out was incredibly terrifying, and it seemed as if they could slash apart anything. Boom! God Ker gave off a massive wave of power, and the 3 balls of light flew in front of it before combining into one. One wheel of light covered the other wheel of light, and it became 10 or so times bigger. Divine runes lit up on each of the balls of light and continuously spun, giving off boundless black light as a power that reigned above all gods spread out. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as the black and blood-red swords of light slammed into the wheels of light, causing countless rays of sword light to scatter. A terrifying shock wave blasted out, and the 3 balls of light were blasted apart. God Ker was also blasted back by the sword energy. God Ker coughed up a mouthful of blood and furiously roared, 10,000 gods! Boom! Boom! Massive explosions sounded out as powerful figures appeared in the sky. There were humans and beasts, and all of them gave off powerful divine power. These were all godly spirits that God Ker had devoured. The 10,000 godly spirits filled the sky, and a terrifying divine might covered the heavens and earth. Everything seemed to stop, and it was as if the 10,000 gods ruled over everything. This scene was incredibly terrifying, and anyone who saw it would feel immense terror. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as God Ker led the 10,000 godly spirits and charged at Zhao Fu. It was as if the gods were destroying the world, and the entire world fell into terror. Shing, 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 sword hums sounded out as Zhao Fu raised the emperor-killing sword, and a massive wave of power spread out, causing hazy figures to appear around him. These figures all had disheveled hair, and their eyes gave off a dense blood-red light. They held blood-red swords and gave off berserk killing intent and sword intent that seemed to be able to destroy everything. They filled the area around Zhao Fu, and it seemed as if the ground was filled with them. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Zhao Fu brought with him countless sword souls and rushed towards God Kerr. A murderous aura spread out, and everything seemed to be on the verge of collapse. Chapter 22:15. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the 10,000 godly beings and the murderous sword soul collided. It was as if the heavens and the earth had collided, and an extremely terrifying power blasted out. Black light covered the entire world. The sky, mountains, ground, trees, rivers, rocks, swamps, and everything else started to collapse. Everyone's vision became pitch black, and they could not see anything. The massive explosion was deafening, and an aura of destruction flooded into their souls. Their bodies became icy cold, and it was as if the world had been destroyed. The people hurrying over saw the black light cover the distance, and a terrifying shock wave rippled out. The ground was lifted up, and countless trees were uprooted as rocks flew into the sky. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly unleashed a defensive barrier to defend against that terrifying shockwave. Bang! 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 Countless rocks and pieces of wood smashed against the defensive barrier, resulting in massive sounds. Countless pieces of gravel whistled past their bodies, creating a terrifying scene. It was as if a catastrophe had descended, causing their bodies to feel a wave of terror. The terrifying shockwaves lasted for a while before stopping. Everyone dispersed their defensive barriers, and they saw that countless trees had been destroyed and rocks were everywhere. It was a complete mess. Everyone was shocked. Just which two people were fighting? They had actually caused such terrifying destruction. At the center of the shockwave was a crater that was nearly 1 million meters wide, and it gave off an extremely terrifying aura, making it so that no one dared to come close. Outside the secret realm, countless people looked incredibly shocked. This level of destruction was simply too shocking. It was simply heaven-destroying, and even gods would feel terror. This battle is definitely the most terrifying battle so far. It's as if two people with Emperor stars are fighting. It's so terrifying. Both of them are simply too terrifying. It's the first time I've seen such a terrifying battle. I've been completely convinced by them, and I can't help but feel admiration and worship towards them. That's right. Such powerful people can't help but feel admiration and respect. They'll definitely become figures whose names will shake the heaven-awakened world in the future. That's hard to say. Don't forget what kind of relationship they have. With such a deep enmity between them, only one of them will live. It's such a pity that one of them is going to die. I also feel that it's a pity. Both of them are peerless geniuses and can rival people with Emperor stars, but only one of them can live. Who do you think won now? I feel that God Kerr might win. That last attack, 10,000 gods, was terrifyingly powerful, and each of them had a different divine power and ability. Yes, that attack is incredibly terrifying, and I also think that God Kerr will win. I like that God Kerr more, so I hope that he will win. As for that person, even though he's very powerful, I don't know who he is, and he's too fickle. That person's final move was also very terrifying. Every single one of those sword souls had an extremely terrifying killing power that could slaughter the heavens and earth. There wasn't a single person who wasn't afraid. This attack is stronger than the myriad deities. We will soon know who the final winner is. You guys better stop talking and witness the fall of a peerless genius. Countless people stared at the pit nervously, wanting to see who would win. The scene became silent. The most nervous one was the demon god emperor, because God Kerr was their emperor and someone they had raised with all of their strength. He was the person they had placed their greatest hopes on, and they definitely did not want God Kerr to lose. If it was a normal competition, they could accept it. However, this was a life-and-death battle, and the loser would die. If God Kerr died, it would be a great loss for them. At this moment, there was no sign of any living creature in the pit. It was also silent, without a single sound. Bang! A sound suddenly sounded out as a blood-red sword light shot out of the ground, blasting apart the surrounding rocks, and Zhao Fu appeared before everyone's eyes. However, Zhao Fu was in quite a wretched state, and there were traces of blood on his body. Zhao Fu's blood-red eyes looked around and landed on a pile of rocks. He stretched out a hand and grabbed at it, causing a wave of energy to flow out. Bang! An explosion sounded out as countless rocks were blasted away. A figure covered with wounds and blood appeared. It was God Kerr. Everyone's hearts trembled, and they understood that God Kerr had lost. God Kerr no longer had any power and was heavily injured, but that person seemed to still have a lot of power. Everyone did not cheer like before, and they instead silently waited for things to develop. The demon god emperor's people's expressions were quite unsightly. God Kerr had lost, which meant that their hopes had been dashed, and their hearts were heavily wounded. The other experts also looked at the scene in the mirror and did not say anything, waiting to see what would happen next. By now, Tian Yu and Mia Lu had arrived. They stood in the air and looked at the scene in front of them in shock. Such terrifying destructive power was not any weaker than the two of them, and someone with such power definitely had the right to challenge or even defeat them. They also saw Zhao Fu and God Kerr, and they understood that the two people who had just been fighting were the two of them. Tian Yu looked at God Kerr in surprise. At first, he had felt that God Kerr was not as powerful as him, but it seemed that he had underestimated God Kerr. He had never thought that God Kerr would have such terrifying power to challenge him. However, he had lost to someone else, which meant that that person was even more powerful than him. Tian Yu looked at Zhao Fu. This was the first time he had seen Zhao Fu, and his first impression was that he was an incredibly dangerous person. Mia Lu's gaze fell on Zhao Fu's body, and she felt incredibly shocked. She had never thought that this bastard would have such terrifying power and hide it so deeply. Back when she had seen Zhao Fu, she had felt that he was not weak. However, the terrifying aura that he gave off was enough to threaten her, and she did not know just who this person was. Lu Li stood next to Mia Lu and gave a trace of a smile. She knew that Zhao Fu was far more terrifying than she had expected, and she was not too surprised about this. That was why she had tried very hard to avoid Zhao Fu and Mia Lu from fighting. She did not know why, but she had a feeling that this was not Zhao Fu's true power. Zhao Fu's true power was even more terrifying than it was now, and it was very likely that he would become this generation's master of the gods. Even though she was one of Mia Lu's people and supported Mia Lu in becoming the master of the gods, the feeling that Mia Lu gave her was not as strong as the feeling that Zhao Fu gave her. Zhao Fu seemed to give off a formless, unstoppable aura. Chapter 22:16. Zhao Fu ignored those people and held the emperor-killing sword as he walked over to God Kerr. God Kerr's expression was dim as it powerlessly lay there. After risking its life for 10 years, it had still lost to Zhao Fu. Its confidence, arrogance, and hard work had taken a massive blow. Zhao Fu stood in front of it and said coldly, "You've lost." God Kerr looked at Zhao Fu, a trace of fury and hatred on its face as it said, "If I have the chance, I'll take revenge and become even stronger than you. I'll use my own power to defeat you and devour your flesh bit by bit." Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "It's a pity that you won't have that chance. I'm going to take back what belongs to me." God Kerr said furiously, "Then give me back my divinity." Zhao Fu said mockingly, "I'm right here. You can come and take it. I'll also take good care of your flesh, and perhaps I'll have a good taste of it. God Kerr furiously glared at Zhao Fu as it cursed, "Bastard! I'll definitely kill you and make you suffer unimaginable pain." Zhao Fu did not waste any more words with it. He came in front of it and stretched out a hand, grabbing towards God Kerr's abdomen. "Arg!" God Kerr cried out in pain as Zhao Fu's hand pierced into its body, causing blood to spurt out. A cruel smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face as he grabbed the divinity within God Kerr's body and took out the pure black divinity. God Kerr's body was once again heavily injured, and its power quickly declined. Its life force quickly flowed away, and its expression froze as it died. A peerless genius who had been worshipped by countless people and whose fame had shaken the entire godly world in the future had died just like that. Outside the secret realm, countless people saw this scene. Although they had already expected it, they still could not help but sigh. Their hearts were inexplicably heavy. Not a single person cheered, and none of them looked happy. The atmosphere became quite oppressive. All of them felt pity and sorrow for the fall of a person with such potential. The demon god emperor and the others furiously stared at the scene in the mirror. Now that Zhao Fu had really killed God Kerr, their last trace of hope had been destroyed. They were infuriated to the extreme, and they wanted to cut Zhao Fu into 1,000 pieces. That strong and domineering middle-aged man roared, "You must find out who that person is. I, the demon god emperor, will not rest until he is dead." The people around him could understand how the demon god emperor felt. A power that had spent so much effort to nurture and place their greatest hopes on had been killed. No matter which power it was, they would definitely be enraged. However, there were some people who rejoiced. God Kerr's potential was immense, and its future accomplishments were unimaginable. It would be of great help to the demon god emperor. However, there were many disadvantages to it. After all, the demon god emperor was simply too powerful, and he would definitely bully and attack them. As such, they all hoped that God Kerr would die. Within the secret realm, Tianyu, Mielu, and the others did not know about the relationship between Zhao Fu and God Kerr, but seeing Zhao Fu kill such a terrifying peerless genius with their own eyes, they looked incredibly shocked. This was because even though they had emperor stars, they did not dare to kill a peerless genius, as they all had terrifying factions behind them. If one could defeat one of their people, they would not be able to say anything. However, if one killed one of their people, there would be immense enmity between the two factions, and it might even lead to a war between the two factions. Moreover, even if there was no war, one would have to be careful in the future because they would definitely send even more powerful people to kill one, and one would not be able to stop them. However, Zhao Fu had actually killed such a terrifying peerless genius. Moreover, this genius was not an ordinary genius but the second-ranked genius from the demon god emperor's peerless genius. Wasn't this just seeking death? Or did he have some sort of heaven-shaking identity that allowed him to ignore the demon god emperor's threat? At the same time, they felt that it was a pity that such a person with shocking talent had died just like that. Boom! Suddenly, an incomparably loud explosion rang out and a massive might spread out with great power, enveloping the surrounding area. Everyone's expressions fell as they looked at Zhao Fu. At that moment, Zhao Fu held God Kerr's divinity in one hand and stood up from the ground. He felt a massive wave of fate enter his body, and that massive might was coming from him. However, he could not control it. Countless people did not know what was going on and looked quite confused. Boom! 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 Explosions continuously sounded out as powerful ripples spread out from Zhao Fu's body, forming massive gales that swept out in all directions. The ground started to crack, and countless rocks were blown into the air. Tianyu and the others felt quite shocked. They could also feel a massive wave of fate continuously entering Zhao Fu's body. Those ripples were the ripples from fate, so why was there such a terrifying wave of fate entering his body? No one realized that not only was God Kerr affected by Zhao Fu's power, but it had also absorbed Zhao Fu's fate for 10 years. Now that God Ke had died, that wave of fate returned to Zhao Fu's body. It was not just Zhao Fu's fate but also God Ke's own fate, as well as the demon god emperor's fate. All of it entered Zhao Fu's body, and this was the godly world's fate. Waves of fate continuously flowed into him, and the ripples that Zhao Fu's body gave off became stronger and stronger. The weather started to change, and clouds swirled and the sun and moon dimmed. Boom! A massive explosion once again sounded out as Zhao Fu's body uncontrollably gave off a black ray of light that shot into the sky, and a formless energy spread out. 9 massive, sinister-looking black dragons appeared. They were 1,000 meters long, and their bodies were covered with shiny black scales. They had 4 powerful dragon claws and a pair of jade-like dragon horns, giving off a domineering, dignified, and terrifying feeling. Roar! After the 9 black dragons appeared, they circled around Zhao Fu's body and gave off massive dragon roars. An emperor's aura that seemed to descend to the world flowed out, and the heavens and earth seemed to sink as if all creatures had to submit to them. Everyone could not help but look shocked. Such a terrifying emperor's aura could only be possessed by a true emperor. Was this person's true identity an emperor? Fate was split into a few types. Some emperors gave off emperor's fate, while some experts gave off emperor's fate. The 2 types of fate had different attributes and powers, so it was quite easy to distinguish them. Tian Yu and Mia Lu's expressions were somewhat flabbergasted. They found that in the face of this emperor's aura, they felt a slight desire to submit. However, they were emperor stars. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.